The time has come. Joe Biden's brain has been dead for years now. Now you, Donald Trump, need to bring what remains of Joe Biden to my embalming parlor. My undercrowder and I have been making preparations. We just need you to finish the job. Oh, yes!
Donald Trump, your time is running out. I will be watching. On the Louder with Crowder debate stream, the souls of the American people will all be watching, bearing witness as you deliver that fatal blow to rapey Joe Biden. It can only be you, President Trump. And as you stand in victory, your opponent will rest in peace.
Hey. Oh, I'm here. I had no idea. The screen was just totally dark. I thought we were just going with a dark direction for the show. Well, somebody is getting terminated. And our next guest probably knows something about that because he's been head honcho for a while. We are going to come back after this guest. Of course, we've been doing pre-gaming as a little bit of a tradition with our drinking game rules, costume contests. Tonight's theme is back to the town hall, where we'll be watching Donald Trump and then tuning to the Joe Biden town hall during the commercial break so that we get to fact check him but not give them any ratings. And then we'll switch over when the town hall is done. But right now, you know him, you love him. He is America's mayor, and he is the top dog in the news right now. Former mayor of New York City and Times Magazine Man of the Year. And I call him, I would like to say friend, but he's been on the show once. But Mayor Giuliani, how are you, sir?
How are you, Sam?
I am doing fine. Thank you very much. So, seems like you're a busy man these days.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'm busy, but it's good. We're finally getting the truth out.
Yeah, well,
that's taken a while, but we're finally getting it out.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Not getting it out as much as one could, if not for today's Roman Empire, which is big tech. But before we go into the Hunter Biden emails and all of that, what do you expect from each town hall tonight? And of course, by the way, sorry, I should have mentioned the podcast is Common Sense, available at rudyscommonsense.com. I'm sorry, I figured people know you have a podcast, but it's Common Sense with Rudy Giuliani. What do you expect tonight from the town halls? First Donald Trump, then Joseph Biden.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump has done so many of them. I think we all know what's going to happen. He'll be very transparent. He's got tremendous command of the issues, the substantive issues. He'll answer the questions directly. He's not going to say, you don't deserve to know my position on whatever, which Biden is likely to say.
Whatever is kind of a placeholder, but it works in this instance because it has been pretty much used for whatever.
Well, I mean, it'll be Biden. Who knows what we're going to get with Biden? I don't know if he's taken a sufficient number of drugs. I guess he'll get through it. If he hasn't, he'll forget the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do you
pledge allegiance to the flag? That was it.
Right. Whatever. Do you? Okay. We'll move. That's kind of you just threw some bombs out there, like you threw like it was a Molotov cocktail at a peaceful protest. Do you really think that former Vice President Joe Biden is using performance-enhancing drugs? And obviously this is conjecture, but if you had to bet.
Yeah. Okay. I think he's taking something like Adderall. I think he's taking something like Adderall to help his concentration, because there are times in which he wanders off into who knows where, and there are other times where he's pretty focused. And I mean, I've spoken to doctors about it, including a podcast I did on it. Both doctors said that from everything they can see, he looks like he's pretty far advanced with dementia. Some of the prime symptoms being he gets numbers screwed up. He gets lost in the middle of sentences. He can't remember who his wife is. He thinks he was in the Senate for 186 years. He thinks he's running for the Senate. Well, he said the other day, I'm running for the Senate. He didn't even pause. I mean, it's like, we might make that mistake. I'm running for the Senate. No, I'm running for president.
Right.
I'm running for the Senate. I was in the Senate for 186 years.
You'd think there'd be a forehead slap somewhere along that president, but no.
Boom, boom, bang, bang.
But how amazing would it be if this was all one brilliant ploy just to convince his wife that I didn't know she wasn't you. I forgot who you are. You saw me do it on a national stage.
I think it's going to be an insanity defense in his RICO case.
Right. Okay. So let's get to this. This is I have to ask you some questions that obviously people want to see asked, both from the right and the left. But surmise here for people who don't know, because a lot of people get their information from Facebook and Twitter. And the story was throttled. We tested it, by the way. It is the first time I think it was ever retweeted by the president. We tested the New York Post article about your Hunter Biden emails, and it told us that it could not be posted. We have the screenshot available on my Twitter because it violated their policies, and then it was sort of disseminated, and Jack Dorsey apologized. He'll have to speak before a hearing. So for people who haven't heard yet, this is a bombshell in New York Post. What is it, if you have to give them the bullet points? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, what's the implication here?
Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are involved in a bribery scheme in Ukraine. And Hunter Biden and Joe have for years said that Joe knew nothing about Burisma, the company that paid the bribe. He knew nothing about his dealings in Ukraine. And what there is a cold, clear group of text messages in which Hunter Biden sets up a meeting for the number 2 person in that company with Joe Biden.
Right.
Who then texts Hunter back and thanks him. So it makes Joe a complete liar for the last 7 years. It shows that he met with Burisma. I think it's not on his public schedule, but we have another one where Hunter Biden was snuck into the back of the State Department. So his meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, isn't recorded, because if he had the meeting, it would have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So there are plenty of very, very damning things with regard to Ukraine on the hard drive. The main one being that Joe Biden's been lying for 7 years about it and knew all about Burisma, as you knew was true.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I didn't know anything about my son's foreign dealings. How credible is that?
Right.
The guy is suffering from really massive drug addiction, which the hard drive will make clear. It's hard to get through a line of photographs without seeing one of him with a crack pipe sitting in a closet.
Well, he was a fan of Weezer.
Sitting in the closet going bonkers. He's like a zombie.
Have you seen the pictures?
Who's going to report this guy?
Have you seen the pictures of him with the crack pipe?
John Wright, I have.
Oh, wow. Does he at least look like cool?
Unfortunately, I can't show them to you right now, but this is the hard drive they're on.
Oh,
right
my
there.
gosh.
Oh, my word. Let me ask you this, Mayor Giuliani. How did you get that hard drive? Because this is the crux of the New York Post article being throttled right on social media. They said that you've been working with a Russian agent, or that it's entirely false.
Actually, I got it directly from Putin. He sent it to me.
You are not going to believe who likes hash pipe.
Putin sent it to me, and he said, I don't even know. He just wanted a couple of bottles of vodka in return. Right. Which wasn't bad. I mean, it cost me about $150. I sent it to Putin.
Right.
And
if you send him something better than Grey Goose, he'll show you the heroin pictures.
It's got Hunter Biden there with crack pipes. It's got him there doing an imitation of Anthony Weiner about 50 times. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
It's got some very disturbing things on it that I shouldn't joke about. And here's how I got it. Hunter Biden brought his hard drive into a repairman to repair it. The repairman took it. Hunter Biden signed a receipt for it, which I have here, and said he was going to come back for it. 2 days later, he came back and gave him a part. And then when it was done, he never came back. According to the agreement, after 90 days, the hard drive is abandoned under the law, and it belongs to the merchant. The merchant held it for another 3-4 months, and then he heard all this talk on television, and he started to get worried. What do I have here? This could be criminal evidence.
Right.
So he opened it, and he almost fainted. He said, "I never saw anything like this before." And if you looked at the photographs, you'd probably come to that conclusion also. But then he took a look at the text, and he saw in the text major contradictions to what the Bidens were saying on television, like the one I just told you.
Right.
Biden was saying, I didn't know anything about Burisma in Ukraine, and there's plenty of evidence that he did.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor Giuliani? Because, you mentioned Anthony Weiner, and, I sort of came up under Andrew Breitbart. Before it was Breitbart, it was Big Hollywood, and I was there for the Weiner scandal and Acorn and all of that. Here's my question to you, because obviously you know that the left is going to come out and say, well, this can't be corroborated. That's the basis on which Facebook and Twitter have throttled this story, despite the fact that they were covering stories that were verifiably false regarding Trump calling the troops suckers and losers. But how do you go about then behind the scenes making sure that New York Post, or have you offered any evidence to anyone other than New York Post to corroborate? Because obviously New York Post believes that this is real. They've confirmed it. But is there any way for you to get the media to confirm it behind the scenes so that we don't run afoul of social media, or do they not care?
If they think it's not correct, sue Rupert Murdoch. You don't. I mean, he had it for 5 days, and they did everything they could to verify it. They're convinced that it's real. Not only that, I internally verified it. There are things on that hard drive that only Hunter Biden would know, because those things were given to us by anonymous informants. Dates, for example, that aren't public. Dates of meetings that were never recorded in the State Department or the White House in order to hide them. And the hard drive comes up with exactly those same dates. That could only have been known to Hunter Biden. His pictures all over it make it pretty clear that it's him. His signature is on the receipt for it. The gentleman can identify him as Hunter Biden. And if you read the internal messages, they're quite consistent with what we already know. It describes a transaction. In China that I think we all know. It's in Schweiker's book, almost exactly the same as Schweiker does it, except it explains that when the money was transferred. The Ukraine thing is exactly what the 5 witnesses told me, all of whom want to come to the United States and testify under oath and are being blocked from coming to the United States. And this is really ridiculous.
This is mammoth, obviously. Like this makes Watergate look like a what do we say? Dwarf piss droplets at this point. It's so huge that it almost seems. Almost, for lack of a better word, it almost sounds unbelievable to Americans, because they're like, well, this is so huge, and that's why Twitter and Facebook have decided to throttle it, which hopefully at this point we understand that this is now a First Amendment issue and not a free speech version of the First Amendment issue, but we're talking about actually the freedom of the press if New York Post is not being allowed to get their material up there. One thing I wanted to make sure, you may not know how to explain this because it's more of a tech issue, your story, obviously, or the New York Post story that you've obviously provided information on, was not available when we were searching at social media. All across platforms. What was a story that claimed you or someone who worked with you had photoshopped these files or had fabricated them. So that wasn't considered fake news. That was at the top, and that's not even the claim they're making. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have my tech guy Bryce here.
I'm willing to invite. I just invited someone on Fox if they want to come here and look at it. They can't take it away, but you can come and look at it. Figure out for yourself that it's
I actually have my tech guy Bryce here who explained to me why those articles were false right off the bat. If I may, and you were saying that there's something.
Yeah, so it's not super definitive,
right?
But it's just an explanation.
Yeah.
Gibbon, you want to pull up the raster versus vector thing?
Okay, so we'll explain it really quickly because we have the American.
So their argument was that the little logo was pixelized and all kind of low resolution compared to the text. But that's kind of what would happen if you exported an email.
Okay, yeah.
So a vector, so the little icon is usually like an Apple or a Google type image.
Right.
And that's probably referencing either a vector or higher resolution images on the server.
Okay, it sounded like Mayor Giuliani.
That's exactly what happened. This was an older. The original hard drive was older, and he had to put it on newer hard drives. I mean, he can explain it in detail. And come on, let's face it, they're not challenging the accuracy of it.
Well, they're not anymore. Yeah.
Biden's lawyers. In fact, I'll give you something that really verifies it. The very morning this came out, within about 20 minutes, Hunter Biden's lawyer called the merchant and asked him if he could have the hard drive back.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's that also reminds me I need to call Geek Squad.
We have the email evidence of that.
Wow, that is.
So if the lawyer is asking for the hard drive back,
Yeah.
It must
Well,
be the
so
hard drive.
it
There's
obviously
no
verifies
doubt.
that it's the hard. Hey, you can leave, Bryce. Yeah, I'm talking
No.
with America's mayor. I apologize for that. He
Okay.
overstays his welcome. That is now. Is there any record of that? In other words, like the lawyer reaching out to this man? I would imagine.
Yeah. There's he actually did it by telephone and by email. We have the email.
Good. That's almost as though it makes it worse on them, Mr. Giuliani.
Oh yeah, it's the dumbest thing a lawyer can do. But who says this part?
Would you advise your
Joe
clients?
Biden was the dumbest kid in law school.
Well, I was gonna say, would you advise
I was
your client
introduced to him.
if someone came to you and said,
to him.
"This is actually
I
my
was
hard
introduced
drive"?
to him by his law school classmate. He's the dumbest kid in our law school class, but he's a nice guy. He cheated his way through.
Oh
Remember,
my
he
God!
plagiarized in law school.
All right, well, Mr. Mayor Giuliani, we're going to have to get going here pretty soon. But let me ask you: is there what else can we expect? Obviously, the relations now with China and the leverage that China could have on a Joe Biden presidency came out today. What else do you think is going to most surprise people? Since you're kind of, this is a drip from this hard drive. What is there? Something? Can you give us any kind of?
I think as the second transaction in China comes out, you're going to see him being involved with a Chinese communist operative, an intelligence operative, and it's quite obvious that he's setting him up. He's setting Hunter Biden up, and he's setting Joe up for extortion. I think there'll be more emails and text messages that make that clear. I think you're going to see more emails and text messages that describe how Joe was compensated, how he was getting a portion of this money. In fact, he was getting a large portion of this money. And it'll explain also how Joe Biden, who never really made much money, has 2 or 3 very, very luxurious homes.
Right.
Because he didn't pay for anything Hunter did. So this is a long-term bribery scheme that started at a low level in Delaware with his brother James selling his office, holding the money, taking care of Joe. And when they got to the big time, they shook down Iraq for, I think, about $500 million. Ukraine for about 20. China, I don't know. I mean, 30, 40 million.
Right.
Oh, gosh, I missed Russia, the 3.5 million from the mayor's wife, who is a good friend, by the way. We're kidding around about Putin. That woman is a close ally of Putin.
Right.
So we have the irony that the president was accused of falsely of colluding with Russia, but Biden actually got paid by Russia.
Well, I'll give you one more. When the media, I say media, but I'm talking about Twitter and Facebook, but let's be honest, that's what the media really is now. I don't watch cable news anymore because my doctor told me I was a hypochondriac, that I didn't have mesothelioma. So I went just to social at that point. I'm sure, but I need a reverse mortgage, doc. He's like, don't listen to Tom Selleck. It actually is his first rodeo. But my question to you here is, this is unbelievable when you think about the fact that they said, well, we can't verify the source, but you just mentioned Russia. People forget there was a story about Donald Trump washing Russian prostitutes peeing on furniture, and there was no verification, and none of that was ever throttled. So I am really looking forward.
And he's a germaphobe.
Yeah. Come on.
I've known him 30 years. I knew that was false the day they said it. He wouldn't get within 10 miles or something like that.
Unless like beforehand, he had his assistants go in like Greeks and put the cellophane back over the furniture, and he would still be like, oh, gross. No, I didn't buy it either. The show is Common Sense. It's the podcast available at rudyscommonsense.com. You can follow Mayor Giuliani at Rudy Giuliani on the Twitter, as long as they still allow him. I really appreciate you doing this, and I know you're staking your reputation on this.
I'm day by day now on Twitter.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Giuliani. We really appreciate it, and I'll be keeping everyone abreast and talk with you soon.
You're a lot of fun.
Thank you.
God bless.
God bless. And you know what? I know we had a cut here ready. You can let Mayor go. We had a cut ready on Amy Coney Barrett, but you know what? We don't have time for that right now. Okay. So we are going to bring in Gerald and Half Asian Bill to give our pre-town hall thoughts. And here's the intro. Let's go. Ooh, hello, we are back. The town hall is about to start. Right next to me is Doc, I forget his name. Doc, what? Doc what?
Brown.
Doc Brown.
Doc Brown.
My half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, who could have been an extra in the film, I guess. And if it seems like
Olivia
I've
terrorist.
lost 6 pounds in the last 24 hours. It's not the Rona, it's food poisoning. So if you see me leave today at any point during the town hall, it's, I just had to interview one of the most famous mayors of all time, and I'm just thinking, please don't poop, please don't poop, please don't poop, please don't poop.
You and Joe Biden think the same thing.
Right.
So you're basically in his shoes.
Well,
tonight.
he's just hoping the Depends don't give a dead giveaway with the sound. It looks like they're going to be starting this town hall here any second. The drinking game rules, let's bring them up really quickly. I can't read them.
Yeah, Trump gets a leading or unfair question, drops a thug life moment, says China or fake news, and finish your drink if Trump mentions Hunter Biden.
Oh, Lord.
And you will hear this ding. There you go. The promo code is, again, just trying not to poo.
That's not the promo code. That is
What
not
is the
the
promo
promo
code?
code.
It's not written anywhere on here.
Hashtag
Crowder Town Hall. That's the hashtag. That's the promo code. You get $20 off for the next 24 hours. And what we'll be doing is during the commercial break, Reg the Bandit is here. We will go to the Biden Town Hall and fact check it. So you get 2 town halls, 1 stream, and then after this town hall ends, there's another full half hour of the Biden Town Hall. Hey, look, we have, let's give our thoughts during the first commercial break. We have Savannah Guthrie, so George Stephanopoulos doing the Biden Town Hall, who was a Democratic communications director. She's just married to one. So
those are totally
let's see what she has to say.
In a virtual debate, at that point, Joe Biden scheduled a town hall tonight in Pennsylvania on another network, and now the president
Way to
is
send
doing
people
the
to your
same.
competition.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Obviously costume contest, by the way, guys. Costume contest. Really quickly, what do you expect tonight? Well, hold on. She's going to ask Donald Trump. He's right there. We'll watch and we'll shut up, and then we'll talk over Joe Biden because it's nonsensical.
Taking questions from voters here in Miami, who we should mention are socially distanced and they're wearing masks. And I should say this audience looks a bit like America.
They began wearing masks once we yelled action. It was like at the Change My Mind. No one was wearing a mask, including the people who walked up to talk to me. And I always ask, I say, hey, would you like me to wear a mask? And they go, yes, I do. It's like, I just watched you.
Yeah.
I just watched you inhale someone's cough like it was an essential oil.
Eucalyptus.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're well. We send our best to the First Lady and to Barron.
Thank you.
Do you
Lies
have
already.
any remaining
You're not
symptoms from
glad
COVID?
Nothing whatsoever. I'm great. I feel good. Was in North Carolina today and did a big rally. We had a tremendous turnout and just feel really good. Florida, Pennsylvania, we're all over the place. It's been great.
You received some treatments that are generally reserved for those with the most severe form of the
Wants to make
disease.
them available to all
How
Americans.
severe
He's the
were your
only candidate who
symptoms? In particular, did you have pneumonia?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel strong. I had a little bit of a temperature. The doctors at the White House are fantastic, as you can imagine, and they really didn't want to take a chance. And they said, "Let's go to the hospital." I said, "That's okay. I'm going to, respond to what you say." And we went over to Walter Reed, where you have tremendous professionals. They gave me Regeneron and Remdesivir both. And all I know is I felt good the following day. I felt really good.
Did the doctors ever tell you that they saw pneumonia on your lung scans?
No, but they said the lungs are, a little bit different, a little bit.
Bitch, stop with the pneumonia.
And
infected with?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't do too much asking. I really felt good. I didn't have much of a problem with the lungs. I did have a little bit of a temperature. Obviously, I felt there was something missing. And then I tested, I tested positive.
Well, let's talk about testing because there's a little bit of, confusion about this, and I think we can clear it up.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be.
Your first positive test was Thursday, October 1st, okay?
Why are we talking about this?
When was your last negative test? When did you last remember having a negative test?
Well, I test quite a bit, and I can tell you that before the debate, which I thought it was a very good debate, and I felt fantastically. I had no problem before.
Did you test the day of the debate?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I test all the time. But I can tell you this. After the debate, like I guess a day or so, I think it was Thursday evening, maybe even late Thursday evening, I tested positive. That's when I first found out about it.
Well, back to the debate,
that was
because
after
the debate
you
commission's
licked my
rules, it was the honor
microphone.
system.
I saw you.
You would come with a negative test.
I
You said you
brought
don't
receipts.
know if you got a test on the day of the
I
debate?
had no problem. Again, the doctors do it. I don't ask them. I test all the time, and
Did you take a test, though, on the day of the debate?
You know, if you ask the doctor, they'll give you a perfect answer. But
Yeah.
they take a test, and I leave, and I go about
So
my
4
business.
minutes.
Did you
they've been
take a
asking
test
him.
on the day
By
of
the way, the
debate?
doctor's already come out.
Let's move
They're
on.
trying to catch him and say that he's lying about COVID.
I know. They're trying to say that he had it before the debate and didn't tell anybody.
I was in great shape for the debate, and it was only after the debate, like a period of time after the debate, that
The guy
I said,
who they
"That's
accused of being
interesting,"
the
and they
dumbest
took a test
president
and it
ever
tested positive.
was
Just to button it up,
covertly
do you
engaging
take
in
a test every
biological
single day?
warfare at the last debate.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't know
pick,
if you
you
took a
silly
test the day of
bitches.
the debate.
They're calling him Cambodian.
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't. But you know, the doctor is very accurate information. And it's not only that doctor, it's many doctors. The one thing, if you're president, you have a lot of doctors you're surrounded by. But I was in great shape for the debate. And sometime after the debate, I tested positive.
Let's
This is a
talk
good
about-
example
That's
where
when
you
they
just
decided to
answer
let's stop.
abruptly and move on.
Hopefully
To showcase
provide some
how
clarity for folks.
nonsensical
Let's talk about the event
and
that
silly
was held at the White House on the Saturday before you tested positive. Subsequent to that, 13 people connected to
All right,
that event.
let's drink every time
tested
they ask
positive.
about
There was
his
an indoor
COVID. Drink.
reception.
Really?
You've seen the pictures. There was an
drinking for the first
indoor
5 minutes of the
reception.
show.
People were not wearing
You're not a real
masks.
doctor. Shush.
My question to you is, at this point in the pandemic, knowing what we know, shouldn't you have known better? Shouldn't the White House
Look, they have
know
little
better than to hold
arrows
an
going.
event like that?
Oh my
Well, they
God.
do a lot of testing in the White House. They
It's like a
test
video
everybody,
game.
including me, but they test everybody.
I also love that
And
they feel they needed to
something
label Chris
happened, but
Christie.
as far as the
We
masks,
can tell by
I'm okay with masks. I'm okay
The only
with
governor
masks.
seen
Some
from
people wear
space.
masks.
Yeah.
But just the other day, they came out with a statement that
Him and your
85%
wall.
of the people that wear masks catch it. So, you know,
They
this
didn't
is
say
a
that.
very
I know that
tricky-
study.
well,
That's
that's what I heard, and that's what I saw. And regardless,
You guys turn up
everybody's
all night.
tested, and they're tested often. And I also knew that, hey, I'm president. I have to see people. I can't be in a basement. I can't be in a room. I have to be out.
You can see
And I
people with a
also
mask,
know-
though, right?
I can, but people
Well,
with
look, like she
masks
puts a
are catching
smile
it
on
all
where
the
we see
time.
she
I mean, if
smudged
you
her
look at the governor of
bright pink
Virginia,
Joker
he was
lipstick. It
known
makes
for
it
a
okay
mask.
for her to
If
try
you
and
look at
lead the
Tom Tillis, a
president.
great guy, he always had a mask, and they caught it.
Well, there are pictures of Tom Tillis actually with one of Judge Barrett's kids not wearing a mask. But, you know, Chris Christie.
they don't have
he
it.
was
Oh
pretty
my
sick.
God! Some
He
people
was-
weren't
I
wearing a
believe at that
mask. What a
event.
freaking
He came out tonight. He
nightmare!
was sick, very sick. He was in the hospital for about a week.
I know
He
that.
came out tonight and said, I was wrong not to wear a mask.
No, you weren't.
Who said
Well,
this?
I mean, he has to say that. I think it's great. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. And
Christie should always cover up that
wrong or
line.
not wrong. You have to
Everything is
understand,
related
as
to COVID.
president,
Like,
I
no-
can't
no
be locked
policy-
No, no, it's not
in
even related to
someplace for
COVID
the next
policy.
year
It's related
and
to
just
his
stay and
personal
do
COVID,
nothing.
which
And every
Right,
time I
yeah.
go into
Silly
a
and
job,
irrelevant.
I
just
was with
See how
the
you're
parents
wrong on
of
COVID and wrong on
fallen
America.
heroes.
We need a new president
These
because
people
you're
are
wrong
the
on
most
COVID. That's their
incredible
line. I'm
people.
like, no, that's
and
not
they
true at
came
all.
up to me and they would hug me and they would touch me, and
Hey,
I'm not going to.
anyone out there
not
watching
let
from the
them
left,
do it.
okay,
The
just
question
and then
is
we'll
with the
let
Gold
Donald
Star
Trump speak, and of course you can tune into the town hall yourself, so you can do a watch along because they might try and boot us. We've had that happen with NBC. If anyone out there can find me the study that exists, or from the CDC, if you guys are so pro-science, find me a single study that shows that the cotton masks you wear, made at home, the way you wear them, meaning you don't wash them and sanitize them after every single use, that stops the spread of microbes like COVID. Find me a single study that says the homemade cotton masks, if they are not washed on hot in a hospital washing machine, every single use, show me one study that shows it works. Because two can play that game.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that was just so you know, I pulled a lawyer game. I didn't ask a question I don't know the answer to. He'll be
As
searched. But
president, I have
search.
to be out there. I can't be in a basement. I can't be locked in a very beautiful room someplace in the White House. And I want to see the Gold Star families, and I want to see everybody. And I also say to people all the time, it's risky doing it. It is risky doing
But
it.
as
It's risky
president,
seeing people.
you're right. You don't want to. You want to be a leader.
Move
But you also are
on.
a leader and a setter of an
Unbearable.
example. And if you're not wearing a mask when your administration is saying
I'd rather
best
be
practice
painting
right now
the bowl
is wear
in the
a
office
mask. No,
bathroom
it's
right
not.
now.
God, this is
Many
insufferable.
people are catching it. Many people are getting
By the way, you have to
this
drink.
disease
Every
that
single
we
question is about the COVID.
And it shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
Where's my bottle?
But many people are getting this. And
Half
I mean,
Asian Bill
nobody's
Richmond
being
asked
blamed.
for half Asian lawyer asked for his
Everybody's
bottle.
working hard to get this thing out of our country,
drinks straight from
get
the
it
bottle.
out of the world.
It's
Look
time.
at what's going on in Europe. Massive spikes. They've done a very good job, but now you take a look today at the UK, you take a look at Spain and France and Italy. There's tremendous spikes.
But our death rate is worse than, well, not Spain, but those
Well,
other
I
countries.
have things right here that
our
will
death
tell
rate
you
is
exactly
on
the
par per
opposite.
capita
Me
with
too.
the
The UK
A
is
very
up
comparable
2,500% because I knew
Yeah,
you'd
well,
be
they had
doing this.
total
I know you
lockdowns, and
very
now they're getting more
well.
cases.
The UK is
Now they're
up
getting more cases despite less
2,500%.
effective testing.
The EU
I think
is
we're
up
like 11 per capita.
722%.
in deaths.
And the United States is down 21%.
But we have
he brought his own-
our deaths per capita
he's
is
got
among
handouts.
the highest among
Excess
industrialists.
mortality, we're a winner on the excess mortality. And what we've done has been amazing.
That's absolutely correct,
And we have
especially
done
when
an
if
amazing
you go
job.
to the World Health
And
Organization and
it's
CDC,
rounding
Gibbon
the
can probably bring
corner,
us
and
up
we
to
have the
estimate that
vaccines
I think it was
coming, and we have the
750
therapies
million
coming.
people have been
And
infected
I'll
with
tell you
COVID. You
what,
can't just
one
go by the
thing,
tests.
when I
They
got
themselves don't
I
use
had a
the
choice to
tests
nothing
and the
or
deaths
use some of the
for their
things that
measurement
we're
of the
looking
mortality
at.
rate.
In
They
this
use
case,
their
we
overall
generate.
estimates where they
And
take into
Eli
account
Lilly
anybody's
makes
tests, all of
something
those.
that's
And when you take those into
incredible.
account, the United States is
And
even
I
better
think
off
that
on the
maybe
list.
I
I think
would
it's
be doing
740
this
million, might be
discussion with you
760
right
million.
now.
We can have
We
Reg the
have
Bandit or
therapies
Tokunawa and bring it
now
up in a
and
little
cures.
bit.
Maybe
I
you
could
can
be
use the
off,
word
give or
cure.
take 10
And
million.
We have therapies that are absolutely incredible.
I want to pick
Savannah.
up on something you just said. You said we're rounding the corner.
I believe we're rounding the corner,
Now,
yeah.
10% of the country approximately has had COVID. That means
We're
80,
still-
90%, 90%, let's do the math, is still vulnerable.
Got anything there?
There's been some talk, including from the White House
Hey, can we get
lately
Chris
that
Wallace
perhaps,
back?
It includes what's called herd immunity.
Can't, but he still has to
That's where
sit on a
you
half
basically
inner tube.
just let young
He has to
people
wear
who
the
are
same pink
sick, you try
pantsuit.
to protect the old people and those who are
This is
sick.
not a town hall.
And hopefully it
No.
gets up to a certain level, and now we're all immune.
And I know this is
So let's just be
immature and
clear
wrong,
about it. It
but
also
that
means
woman
more deaths.
owns no upper lip.
Do you support herd
think it's
immunity
invisible,
as a strategy?
Yes.
Essentially just...
I mean, kissing
100%.
her would be one half a curb
The
stomp.
cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. We did the right thing. We were
Just
expected to
Norton
lose
behind you.
2,200,000 people and maybe more than that. We're at 210,000 people. One person is too much. It should have never happened because of China. It happened because of China.
Yes. Oh,
And you have
drink.
to get
Drink.
that
Then in there,
and
drink.
understand
China,
that.
right?
But it shouldn't
I
have
love how
happened.
he says my home
But we were
country.
expected to lose. If you look at the original charts from original doctors who are
1 to 2
respected
million.
by everybody,
No, it was more.
2,200,000
That 2
people.
million figure, though, is if you
We
literally
saved 2
did
million
nothing.
people.
The 2 million figure is if you did
Well, two
absolutely
can play this
nothing.
game.
It would
So
be
what
2
did he need to do to
million.
make it less than a tenth of that,
Should the
sweetheart?
deaths- Should the deaths be
A tenth of
better
that? Is that not
than
pretty good?
200,000 when
supposed to be
If someone said, hey, any other
Death rate.
epidemic, the
I
Spanish
left
flu,
North
if someone said
Carolina, which I
SARS,
love.
if someone
I
said
left
Ebola had a
Pennsylvania.
50% mortality
We
rate when
want
it
a big
shared its first one in there, right? And then if it turned out that it had a 5% mortality rate, would you consider that effective? If you were one of the two organizations going in, one of them was Samaritan's Purse, who, by the way, we're supposed to vilify because Franklin Graham. If you were going in with a 50% survival rate with Ebola in these other countries, I can't remember where Ebola, where was the main outbreak of Ebola? In some one of those African countries. I can't remember exactly what it was. 50%, and then because of the actions taken by the organization, it was down to 5%. Would you not consider that a success? If you don't, give me a number. What's a success?
Yeah.
5% of the total number? 1%? She's not doing that.
Yeah, and you just keep moving the goalposts. These were the numbers that we went off of saying we've got to lock down the economy.
Right.
Right.
And he did take action that resulted in 10% of the deaths. Even if you count every one of them, they're counted.
So that cure, that so-called cure that you talk about, it can't be worse than the problem. The
You know what
problem
you
is
should
a
say right
bad
now?
problem.
We've got more questions on
Yeah.
COVID,
It's
so
okay.
let's drop it for now.
Sweden.
We were supposed to,
Oh.
as mentioned,
No, don't
be
drop it.
watching you on a debate stage right now. We're not doing that, so let's clear up a few things from the last one. You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't.
Everyone
You asked
shut
some
up.
follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show,
you
you
always
denounced
do
white
this.
supremacy.
No, you
My
always do
question
this.
to you is,
You've done this to
why
me and
does
everybody.
it seem
Good.
like
I
Get her.
denounce white
Get her.
supremacy, okay?
You did
I've
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with the kid.
Well, Arsenio Hall was
Look at the lady in the back.
and that
Whether or
guy
not he
sucks.
denounces Antifa. I watched him
Black
on the
lady in
same
the
basic
back
show with
agrees.
Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
well, so this
So,
is a
are
little
you
bit of a
ready?
dodge.
Are you listening?
What
I denounce
dodge?
white supremacy.
Okay.
What's your next question?
All right,
What
that's a
dodge?
thug.
It
That's
feels
thug life right
sometimes
there.
you're
Get a
hesitant to
drink.
do so. Like you wait a
Hesitant. Here we
beat.
go again. Every time, in fact, my people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning
look, they got a
down our
black
cities that are
conservative
run by
behind.
Yeah,
Democrats
I just
who
see a
don't know
shadow.
While we're denouncing, let me ask
That's
you
what I was saying.
about
She was just
QAnon.
agreeing. She's like,
it is this
say it.
theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior
Epstein.
of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true.
And the media wonders why we don't take them seriously? Wow. Donald Trump wants to erode trust in American institutions. Hold on a second. Do you mean the institution that for 9 minutes asked the president about his personal COVID test, which his doctors already clarified, then moved on to asking him to denounce white supremacy, which he did multiple times, and then moved on to asking him to denounce a conspiracy theory that the Democrats are a satanic pedophile death cult? This is the town hall.
I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are, and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by Republicans.
Republican Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts, and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories. Why not just say it's crazy and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show.
You do know? Would that be considered a leading question, half-agent Bill?
That's called lack of foundation.
You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more.
Let me just tell you what I do hear about it.
She's going to ask him next.
Is
this you? It's just a picture of a photo ID of him as a member of NAMBLA.
I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it.
But there's not a satanic pedophile cult being run by.
Oh my God. No wonder she's married to a Democratic communications consultant. He's the only one who would deal with her.
Antifa, why aren't you asking me about the radical left? Why aren't you asking Joe Biden?
Could you imagine being married to that broad? You just want to eat your bacon and eggs, and she's going to go off for 20 minutes about nitrites? Like, just shut up.
Antifa, no, she's so cute. Antifa exists. They're vicious, they're violent, they kill people, and they're burning down our cities. And they happen to be radical left.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
Donald Trump retweeted me a bunch of times. I literally just called him an asshole in the most recent Change My Mind. Now, he's our asshole, and I like him. But still, he doesn't agree with everything he retweets. I know that he doesn't agree with. I went after Donald Trump hard in the primaries.
I wouldn't be able to get the word out.
Why are we referencing tweets at all?
The word is very simple.
Why are we talking about
tweets? We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been before. And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
We have a
bunch of questions for you.
We're winning in a lot of states. We're winning in a lot of states.
Let me ask, I'm glad you brought up the election, because I do want to ask about that. It's another kind of leftover item. A lot of people have asked you, will you accept a peaceful transfer of power? You have said repeatedly, the only way we lose this election is if it is rigged.
They didn't accept 2016.
They didn't accept 2016 either. By the way, they were spying on the incoming administration. You don't cover that, and your lackeys at Facebook say that it's not verified. Let's talk more about how he was watching pissing Russian prostitutes.
Right? Unsolicited.
By the way,
ballots.
Pink Nightmare, were you one of them?
The millions and thousands of them are dumped in dumpsters. And when you see ballots with the name Trump, military ballots from our great military, and they're dumped in garbage cans.
That is a handful. We could go all night.
No, by the way, this is bullshit. You can go and watch our video that we did on mail-in voting. Now, there are two problems: fraud and an inept system, a system that just can't handle. Now, we've been telling it since that segment because Ohio just had another. How many votes was it? 50,000 votes compromised, or was it? It was tens of thousands of votes compromised. The total tally of potentially compromised votes, as recognized on the record legally, is 504,000 something. Over 504,000 votes could either be fraudulent, could be compromised, could be from people who don't even necessarily live at that address. That's the potential. Doesn't mean all of them, but think of the margin of victory in certain states, particularly swing states. You add them all up. Go back to our segment. We went through Pennsylvania. We went through Georgia. We went through Texas. Which, by the way, let's go to Donald Trump. It's just $500,000. This is just a lot. Why do I even need my fact check?
When I see thousands of ballots dumped in a garbage can, and they happen to have my name on it, I'm not happy about that.
But just those
I like this. Whoever the audience member is behind his left shoulder, I like her.
You were so in doubt about our democracy.
I think it's nodding model.
You say that. You do read newspapers.
I do.
You do watch the news. I know you read the news, but you watch it.
I do.
Hold on a second. Do you watch news like you?
They're talking about ballots that are corrupt, that are fraudulent,
and millions that are being processed right now.
But you can win a race.
You can win a race.
What about those?
What about those?
word for
Those
that
can
right
count.
now. It's
I'm
like
not.
if I
I don't
go
want
play
that to
tennis with
happen.
my husband and I say my ankle's
Do you
hurting
know
right
what?
now.
I don't want that to happen, Savannah. I want it to be clean. I really feel we're going to win.
People won't be able to hear if you
I
talk
want
too
this
much.
to be clean.
Let's get
but
to-
it's sort of ironic that you and them talk about the peaceful transfer when I spent 3.5 years fighting off these maniacs, and now it turns out, everything's there, that they were the ones that dealt with Russia. And it's too bad. But
Okay.
peaceful transfer, I absolutely want that. But ideally, I don't want to transfer because I want to win.
Yes, and I think that your words will probably reassure some folks. Let's get to our first voter. We've got Jacqueline Lugo.
Wow. That's
now,
one of those girls who
she
thinks,
I told
like,
you this,
as
this
long
audience
as I
is truly
smile,
split
the
between
dishonest
y'all. You
bitchiness
are
is
leading
less
Biden. She voted
dishonest
for Clinton in
bitchy.
2016. She's registered as an independent. Jacqueline, what's your question for the president? And you hold the mic up close and take off your mic because it's hard to hear out here.
Good evening.
How are you?
Welcome to Miami.
Thank you very much.
Is she going to be in a still
Mr.
photo next to Chris
President,
Christie's
if
ass
you
with an arrow
knew
for taking off the mask?
COVID-19, as you told Bob Woodward in February.
As what?
As you told Bob Woodward in February, was airborne and deadlier than the flu. Why did you only put in place a travel ban from China and not put in place other measures mitigating the spread of COVID-19, potentially saving tens of thousands of American lives?
Well, I did put it in very early, as you know. Joe Biden was 2 months behind me, and he called me xenophobic and racist and everything else because I put it in. And it turned out that I was 100% right. I also put it on Europe very early because I saw there was a lot of infection in Europe. And it's sort of an amazing question, and I appreciate the question and respect the question, but the news doesn't get out the right answer because I put on a travel ban far earlier than Dr. Fauci thought it was necessary, who I like, far earlier than the scientists. I was actually the only one that wanted to put it on, and I did it actually against the advice of a lot of people, including Nancy Pelosi, who had no clue what she was doing, and Biden. When I put on the travel ban, I put it on in January, the end of January.
Can someone bring up
When
the
I put on
timeline that
travel
me and
ban,
Reg worked really
Joe
long and hard to
Biden
create, guys, with the whole
others
timeline
said,
of
"This
what
is
Donald Trump did,
ridiculous. You
starting
don't
with the
do
travel
that."
ban, moving
Well,
through Nancy
Dr.
Pelosi in
Fauci
Chinatown.
said I
We have the
saved
entire timeline that I know I've gone over ad
thousands
nauseum from February. Oh, you have it? Thank you very much.
early
Okay,
when I
there
put
you
on
go.
the travel
All
ban.
right, January 31st, that's when they announced the Chinese travel ban. And then February 24th, that's when Pelosi was saying you should go to Chinatown. February 29th, that's when they announced a level 4 travel advisory to areas of Italy, South Korea. They barred all travel to Iran, barred the entry of foreign citizens who visited Iran within the last 14 days. March 2nd, after that, Bill de Blasio encouraged New Yorkers to go to movie theaters. March 4th, Trump administration purchased about 500 million N95 respirators and replenished the depleted stockpile of PPE from Barack Obama. March 6th, he signed an $8.3 billion bill to fight the coronavirus outbreak. March 11th, travel restrictions on all of Europe. March 13th, declared a national emergency in order to access $42 billion. This goes on and on and on all the way through March and April. All the while, de Blasio and Nancy Pelosi were saying, come on down to Chinatown and eat dumplings. So we have that timeline all the way up on our website.
Stephen, did you see this criminal on the screen? She's got no mask on.
Oh, my word.
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Trump, as a frontline ER doctor working through the coronavirus pandemic, I know firsthand, and I've seen that many hospitals throughout the United States are suffering financial hardships. These economic effects are trickling down to the frontline workers. We are being, across the country, frontline workers are being fired, they're being furloughed, our salaries are being cut. And this is also happening in other economic sectors as well, including the travel industry and hospitality.
You're supposed to be.
My question to you
is, the time you're making a killing.
How are you going to get the United States back on track?
Should be cleaning it up,
both
right?
in terms of the
Weren't we always told that
economy
healthcare
and the
workers, the
pandemic?
medical establishment,
So
big
it's
pharma, they want
happening.
everyone
You
sick
just
so they
said
can make a lot of money? Well, there's plenty of people sick. Why aren't you making your money? Oh, that's right.
We're going to have a phenomenal third
Not the
quarter,
virus, but the idea of flattening the curve, which was to make sure the hospitals weren't overburdened. And instead, you guys are empty.
They're empty.
Sorry.
But we're going to
All the
have
elective surgeries.
Hope you like being empty for at least, well, I don't know, till November something.
Jobs, real estate, houses, so many things are happening. So people were saying we're going to have a 42% unemployment. Look, this was a thing that came into our country, and it happened more than 100 years ago, and it happened now. They were talking about a 42% unemployment rate.
Who was talking about that? I heard 20%.
At 7.8% unemployment, and people can't even believe it.
Under 8.
Our economy is going to be,
as a matter of fact, I will tell you this. I think we have this article from Washington Post where the actual advisors to Joe Biden, Democratic advisors, were planning on running against the worst-case scenario if Donald Trump got unemployment down to 12%. Well, it was down to below 8 at the beginning of the quarter. I don't know what it is now. I'm sure it's quite lower.
In the history of our country, last year, including the state of Florida, where we are now.
Who said it was going to be a 40% unemployment rate? I don't know. The same people who said it was going to be over 2 million dead.
We had to close it down. We saved 2 million lives. We're opening it up. We have a V shape, and it's coming back. It's coming back very fast. One other thing, we really helped the hospitals. We've sent billions and billions of dollars to the hospitals. In addition, hundreds of millions of masks and gowns. And we went into the ventilator business because this country was not equipped with ventilators. And I'm not blaming anybody for it, but we're now making thousands of ventilators a month. And we have all we can use. We're sending them all over the world because the world needs them. So they've worked very hard and really very, very effectively. Thank you. Great question.
Hey, let's talk to Isabella. Put the mic close to your mouth.
Why aren't people complaining that, I don't know, Lithuania didn't send us masks? How about France?
Frontline healthcare workers. And I've seen the physical and the mental toll that this pandemic has taken on them firsthand. As well as the
not to get into the point that you guys don't even pay your fair share of NATO. Why is it the United States' job to help the rest of the world? And then why are we condemned when we don't do it enough? Hey, how about you help? Hey, Canada, how about you send us? How about you help replenish all of the PPE, all of it? Can you help? Can you help? Can you spare some change?
Different stories on masks. I mean, I had, being president, you have people, they bring meals, they bring this, and I had an instance recently where a very wonderful person is bringing me a meal, and he's playing with his mask, and he's touching his mask all over the place, and then he's bringing a plate in, and I'm saying, well, I don't know if that's so good. I mean, the good news, I didn't eat it, okay? I decided not to eat it. This was a month ago. But look, you have on the masks, you have two stories. You have a story where they want, a story where they don't want.
I think that should be.
I don't get that because it's just all of your public health officials, your administration, they're in unison about this. They're all in unison about it. The University of Washington, which is they have a model that your coronavirus task force relies on, says that if everyone wore a mask, you could cut expected deaths in half.
And then
60,000 lives. Well, what does that mean?
Scott Atkins, if you look at Scott, Dr. Scott, he's from great guys, Stanford.
And if nobody ever owned a gun, you'd cut down on guns being the method used for suicide by a lot, but they just switched to pills. The reason you can't do it, however, is because it's a right. It's a right, you dumb harlot. You can't just mandate everyone wear a mask and you can't enforce it. But this is the problem. Not only do they live as ideologues and pass themselves off as journalists, but they're not even good ideologues. Do you really think that Donald Trump can bust down your door and make sure you're wearing a mask? A cop can't even have charges dropped for shooting someone who charged him with a knife and aimed a taser at his face. You really think the government's going to be capable of ensuring that every single American follows an unconstitutional mandate to wear a mask? By the way, show me that study again. Show me that study that shows the cotton masks that you wear at home, provided, if you're not washing it every single time, the study doesn't count. Show me the study that shows your little cotton mask that you bought at Lululemon will stop the spread of the virus. Again, these studies are using N95 respirators. These studies are using actual surgical masks that are either being being disposed, or they're using reusable masks that are washed in a high temperature. I believe it has to be at least 180 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 170 degrees in a hospital, commercial level washing machine. All right, let's. I think it's time to. It's time for us to go actually over to the Biden town hall and fact check it. Let's go.
Well, that was a thrill.
Yeah. We got there.
There we go.
Okay. Are we at an actual town hall? Because the last channel I was concerned, it seemed like we were in a frickin' debate or an interrogation.
Yeah. She was very adversarial.
You know, I volunteered with special needs people at a church. It's called Friendship Club.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
I felt like I was there and Trump was the counselor. Let's bring up the Biden town hall, a fact checker, whatever's going on here. Reg the Bandit is there. What is going on? What have I missed? What has happened with the Biden town hall?
Well, we haven't had a lot except coronavirus talk.
Okay.
And then a little bit about race. We had a young black voter ask Biden what he could offer him. But I think the main fact-checking points that we've got Biden first said that Trump told people to inject bleach. So I think we've got a clip and
let's roll this clip really quickly and then fact check. Again, the promo code is Crowder Town Hall, $20 off for 24 hours. Do we have that clip, Token Allen? Yep. Let's run it.
That's the beginning of the clip.
No, that's actually what he did.
Things like, everything from this crazy stuff he's walking away from now, inject bleach in your arm, and that's going to work. I'm not being facetious, though. I mean, he actually said these things.
There we go. This is from PolitiFact.
Oh my gosh!
And they really wanted that to be true. Here's the thing with Biden. Biden has gone on so unchecked. Which, by the way, drink every time Biden lies. That's part of the drinking game. Hit that ding there.
Need an Uber.
Biden has gotten by for so long without any accountability that he just lies without any ramification, and he just leans into it too much. Like if he would have just said that Donald Trump implied one could maybe use bleach or disinfectants, but instead he said Donald Trump said that you could take a belt or surgical tubing, heat up the bleach in a spoon with a torch lighter, and inject it straight into your arm. Like he got specific in his lie.
Exactly. Well, but the media carries his water, so nobody's going to call him on it.
And then he said, "I'm not lying about this."
Right. I'm not lying about this
right now.
But let me give you a very specific scenario that even PolitiFact, who really wants to support me, is going to say, shit.
Check this transcript.
The way that he went on that, when he starts to say, well, I'm being facetious, you could hear his handlers being like, okay, great, you just walked us out of defamation. And he goes, but it's not facetious. And they're like, no!
Looks like they're going to come back here soon. Is there anything else that we missed? Or you know what, Reg the Bandit? We can come back to you. Keep compiling those clips. Everyone watching, it's Crowder Town Hall. That's the discount code. Drinking game rules. And, of course, we have the costume contest after this. It's just a lot going on. Two streams on one stream.
So much going on.
The other two streams on this one stream.
It's weird. You don't cross streams.
We do cross
Thank you for your
streams.
services.
That's a different.
Thank you very much.
We're a hard-working, middle-class family of 4. My husband and I are both self-employed, and we have to get our own individual health care. As you know, healthcare costs have gone up considerably over the decades, and you had originally said you were going to repeal and replace
Yeah, I was going to say,
Obamacare.
when did that start?
What is your
Just the
plan
last
now in
decade.
2020 to make healthcare costs affordable for Americans like myself?
Well, the good thing is you're speaking to the first president in modern history who lowered the cost of drug prices.
Which was the worst part of Obamacare, and now you could actually say it's not Obamacare, because that's how big it was, where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. So we got rid of that. That was a big, big thing. And by doing that, and we will always have, by the way, we're always protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and I can't say that more strongly. But we've been able to bring health care costs way down. Now, I took over Obamacare, got rid of the individual mandate, made it good, managed it much better. Remember, they had the $5 billion website disaster and all of the problems they had.
Back to her.
The problem with Obamacare is not good. We'd like to terminate it, and we want a much less expensive health care that's a much better health care, and that's where we're aiming. And if we can do that, and we have a very good chance of doing it, but we've also brought down the price of Obamacare. Problem with Obamacare, it basically is never going to be great, and I want to give great health care.
And it rose the
So
health care costs of all Americans by 105% more than that on average in 39 states before 2017. And deductibles went up over 212% by 2018. So, yeah.
Which includes the protections for pre-existing conditions.
That's right.
So your administration is in court right now trying to get rid of that protection.
In order to replace it with a much better health care at a much lower price.
You have a Pinto. He's trying to give you a Ferrari. Stop saying he's taking away your car.
Circumstances, we're going to protect the Republicans. And I mean, maybe I changed the party a lot over the last 3 years, but we will protect people with pre-existing conditions. And Savannah, what I want to do, get rid of the terrible Obamacare. I've already done it to a large extent because, as you know, the individual mandate is gone. That was the worst part.
You repealed, but you haven't replaced. Now, you've been in office almost 4 years.
What we have done.
You had both houses of Congress, Senate and House, in Republican hands, and there is not a replacement yet.
That's right. I'm sorry, but
Go
if you
paint
look,
your
we had
nails,
both
sweetheart.
houses, and what did we do? We got rid of the individual
This is a man's town hall.
Was repeal and replace.
Go paint your nails and perfume your bed sheets.
I want it very simple. I'm going to put it very simple. We would like to terminate it, and we would like to replace it with something that's much less expensive and much better. We will always protect people with pre-existing conditions.
But if you're successful in court in November, those pre-existing conditions, that promise will be gone.
If we don't succeed,
Lies.
we are running
Already signed an executive order on pre-existing conditions.
because we took it apart. We are running the remnants of whatever is left much better than the previous administration, which ran it very badly. But we'd like to have new health care, much better and much less expensive.
Let me get to question number 5, and you'll like this. He's stuck in traffic. His name is Joe White. He is registered as a Democrat.
Oh, he
says
he's
leaning toward Biden and Biden and voting for Hillary in 2016. And his question was,
He doesn't look like he's stuck in traffic.
Has been broadly agreed upon
He has
by
a closet in his car?
Democrats, and yet now we're in October and it's still not passed. Why not use your office to make the second stimulus payment
very much like his den.
targeted emergency relief package to help Americans weather the pandemic?
We've actually passed 3 packages, and we're on our 4th.
And the most recent one is $1.8 trillion that Democrats have denied, by the way, just because it didn't include a bailout for the Postal Service effectively. But what's, an extra $0.4 trillion.
She couldn't care less about our people, and we should have a stimulus.
Watch, they're going to fact check that as white supremacy. Our people? Well, what did you mean by that? Well, he's talking to a black guy, so obviously he includes him. But, what's going on with your white supremacy bullshit?
The fact is, she's wrong, because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate at all our workers.
We're talking about nodding model in the back, man. She's on all the points.
Oh, it's really easy to get the black women to hit
the
Nancy
back and forth of Washington, but this has been a roller
I mean, literally every reason.
Back in early October, you one day tweeted, "No more negotiations until after Election Day. I'm walking away." Then I think the next couple of days you said maybe we can do something targeted. Then you said I want a big bill, but then Senate Republicans said no, we're not for that. So you're the big deal maker. How come this is so? You yourself have changed.
This is how you negotiate.
$1.8 trillion right now. Democrats just have to say yes.
That's it,
Savannah.
But people are.
Is there any accountability for Nancy Pelosi, or because she's a woman, do you just picture a man and remove all reason and accountability? Is there nothing at the feet for Nancy Pelosi, who, by the way, is so used to softballs that when Wolf Blitzer said, "Why don't you just say yes to the deal?" and so did Andrew Yang, she accused Wolf Blitzer and Andrew Yang of carrying the Republican Party's water. Can you imagine if Nancy Pelosi had to deal with the shit that Donald Trump does day in and day out, when Wolf Blitzer just said, "Yeah, you wanted 2.2, 1.8 trillion is a pretty good deal." She's like, "You're the next Reagan."
Nancy Pelosi and I, through my representatives or directly, I don't care. If we agree to something, the Republicans will agree to it.
Okay. Our next question comes from, this is interesting. She voted for Clinton in 2016, but recently changed her registration from Democrat to Independent. She says she's truly undecided. Her name's Becky Lightman. Hello, Becky. What's your question?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Nice to see you.
She'd be the token white chick.
Corporate tax rates are a hot button issue, and you have cut corporate tax rates, and your opponent Joe Biden is planning to raise them.
Right.
A lot of Americans think that corporations don't pay their share of taxes and want to see those tax rates increase. Right. What do you say to those Americans to maybe tell them why you want the corporate tax rate lower and
Becky
why that
helps
helps them?
It's a great question. We've created more jobs than this country has ever created. We're up to 160 million jobs. We were never even close to that number. We were just hitting 160 million jobs. Companies are pouring into our nation because of the tax rate. And if Biden comes in and raises taxes on everybody, including middle income taxes, which he wants to do, you will blow this thing and you'll end up with a depression, the likes of which you've never had. That's what's going to happen. We have something that's really good. The reason we're coming back so strong
is because when you look at the Norwegian countries, the Scandinavian model, they have lower corporate taxes. They have higher, they have VAT taxes effectively. And actually, the poor pay a higher percentage of taxes because of the VAT taxes that you see. There's a much higher sales tax on everything in the Scandinavian countries. That's what the Prime Minister of Denmark said when he was like, "Hey, Bernie, shut up, Bernie Sanders. Stop calling us a socialist country. We're a free market economy, and you are a hole of an ass." And so they actually have higher value-added taxes, and they have lower corporate taxes than the United States. That's something people don't understand. Even in Europe, they're like, "Well, we're socialists. We're not morons."
If he comes
But
along
like,
and
they want to
raises
scare all the business away? What, you want them all to go to the Cayman Islands or Panama? You're retarded.
We can't let that happen.
On the subject of taxes, as you know, the New York Times has obtained, it says, years of your tax returns, among other things. It says that you have debts of approximately $421 million that you have personally guaranteed and that will come due in the next 4 years.
How much debt did you have till you married your Democratic communications director consultant?
$421 million.
Savannah?
What they did is illegal, number one. Also, the numbers are
Number
wrong
one.
with the numbers they released. And just so you understand, when you have a lot of real estate, I have real estate.
But Twitter's
you know
still
a
letting
lot of
people
it,
forward that around.
Right down the road, Doral. Big stuff, great stuff.
How was that procured?
I'm very when I decided to
Ludo
run,
Lutarski
I'm
with a
very
ladder.
under-levered, fortunately. But I'm very under-levered. I have a very, very small percentage of debt compared. In fact, some of it I did as favors to institutions that wanted to loan me money. $400 million compared to the assets that I have, all of these great properties all over the world, and frankly, the Bank of America building in San Francisco. I don't love what's happening to San Francisco.
Well, do I hear you right?
Are they
It sounds
shitting on
like
the
you're
Bank of
saying
America building?
$400
Tell them,
million
Don.
isn't that
One of the
much.
biggest office buildings.
But are you confirming that yes, you do owe some $400 million?
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net worth.
That sounds
and
like
you'll
yes.
see that soon because
Hey,
we're
to
doing
Reg the
things,
Bandit,
you
who
know,
I know is watching
we've
the
given, I
Biden
think
town
it's
hall,
108 or
keep an eye out for whether they ask him about any finances, particularly involving one Hunter Biden or properties that may be paid for by other people. I just want to see if he's getting the same treatment or if they're just handing him levodopa between commercials and injecting him with stimulants.
You know what's funny is they go, sir, you owe $400,000, I see, to Bank of America. When is that going to come due? I actually own a house that's a mortgage for a house. Well, sir, that doesn't really matter.
You owe
$400,000.
You owe $400 million to the Bank of No Upper Lip.
And if you'd like
It's
to
like,
know
by the way,
who
it's a high interest loan.
a small amount of money. I want to say
It's like
two
they don't
things. Number
understand
one, it's a
how
very
this
small
works, like how
amount of money.
finance works.
Number
If you dive
two,
into it, he's
it's
under
very
leveraged.
straight.
He'll
It's
walk away with
very,
hundreds of
very
millions of
straight.
dollars if he
But it's a
refinances
tiny
in a couple of years.
percentage of the
He will do
worth.
very well.
Did you ever hear the expression underlevered?
Yeah.
I am extremely underlevered.
Well, here's the thing. You could
Leverage.
clear
I was
this
trying
up
to say
tonight by just releasing your
It's the
tax
same thing.
returns
It's the
yourself.
same
I
thing.
mean,
I wanted to
that's
say
what
it
I'm
first.
saying.
Drink just because
People
Gerald
are just
finally got
wondering.
As you know,
You're
I'm
the
under
only.
audit. It turned out that I am
Yes,
under
but
audit.
the
They
IRS
actually,
says
excuse
you
me,
are.
no,
need
no,
some
but
more
you
The IRS says that doesn't stop you
You
from
accused
releasing.
me
Apparently
of
that
not
is.
being under
Stops
audit
the spider
previously,
effect.
and so did other people at
But he doesn't know
NBC, and I am under audit.
You
So
are.
that was solved. That's good. I am under audit. No person
By
in
the way,
their
we'll
right
be going
mind
exclusive
would
to
release
laddercutter.com/mug club after these town halls, taking your questions, costume contest winner. So please do consider joining up at laddercutter.com/mug club. Thank you for the vino, wonderful lady. You can just fill her up.
Previous administrations, they treat me very badly.
I don't approve of this
But
porn.
we're under audit. It's very routine in many ways, but we're under audit. They like to change the game, change the rules, do everything. You saw what they did with the Tea Party people. You saw what they did with the
But
religious
to be
group.
clear, there is no law or rule that prohibits you from releasing your tax
No,
returns.
except common
There's no
sense
law, rule,
and
or
intelligence and
passages.
having lawyers that
That's
say...
gotta be a Thug Life
because
movie.
I
He goes,
would
"No,
love
it's
to release
common
them,
sense."
And as soon as we come to a conclusion, I will release them, and very gladly. But if you go to...
You asked
The first night I ever drink red wine and I
Why does it
spill it.
stain?
It's okay. Don't worry.
It talks about the income, which is rather massive. It talks about all of the properties. They have them listed. You can never learn more. But you know what happened? People went there. All the reporters went there. It was like a feeding frenzy.
Now you're
This
making it
was
worse.
originally when I filed it. And I filed it every year. I update
paid
it
for
every year.
fans.
My son is here. They run the company. I don't run the company.
It also says that you
know,
paid
Savannah, let me just tell you.
$750 in taxes in
That's not true.
the year
I
you
love
were
how
elected.
interrupted
It's
he
a
is.
statutory
Everyone shut up.
number. It's a
Do
statutory.
you think they
Is that
exclusively
true?
I
placed
think it's a filing
women
number.
in
You
tight
pay
white tops with
$750.
large breasts behind Donald Trump?
Oh, wow, they did.
It improves. He was like, you put
No
all
one's
these
gonna
guys
pay.
here.
No, yeah, he
No
picked
one
it.
will know.
He
why they
picked out
can't
that shit.
Yeah, those are
focus.
handpicked.
But their numbers were wrong. But let me tell you what else. I don't owe money to any of these sinister people. This has been going on for years now. Russia, Russia, Russia. It turned out to be a hoax. And it turned out to be that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were dealing with Russia, not me.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole hoax. So I would not mind at all saying who
By the
it
way,
is,
I'm not
but it's a
objectifying the
very
woman
small.
behind him.
When you
I
look
can't
at
see their
vast
face.
properties like I have, and they're big and they're beautiful and they're
What else
well
am I
located.
supposed to see?
When you look at that,
fair, really.
the amount of
Even
money,
with that
$400
depth of
million
field, I can
is
tell
a
that it's like when I
peanut.
go
It's
into
extremely
Whole
underleveraged.
Foods and whack the
it's
watermelons to see which ones are ripe.
banks.
That's you go with the sound test.
Let's take a break. We'll get more voter
It
questions
just
right
got
after
worse.
this.
How did you do that?
Oh, look at this guy. He's so rude. He says thank you to the lady who's been interrogating
him.
him.
Clapping now, and you're seeing it
that's
shake. Listen, I'm
terrible
sorry.
time.
I don't mean to. Women, just so you know, that's what. If you're wearing a mask and you have got very large, and I mean this, wonderful. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm
Well
not judging
endowed.
you for it. Fantastic. Good for you. You are a woman. Hear you roar. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna look at them. I'm gonna be thinking about that.
Well, and they're kind of showing them off too. They're wearing.
They're not showing them off.
human.
They're just wearing
showing-
shirts.
they're wearing tight
It doesn't
clothing.
matter. It's not their fault that they are very well endowed. Good for
I'm
you.
not saying that
Good
it is.
for you, the both of you.
Yeah, Gerald.
All right, the
I don't know how
promo
this
code
got
is
turned on me.
Crowder Town Hall, $20 off. We can bring up the drinking game rules here really quickly so people can see them. Can you recite them out loud there, Audio Wade?
Yeah, so if Trump gets a leading question or an unfair question, drops a thug life moment, says China or fake news, you finish your drink if Trump mentions Hunter Biden. And then if Biden gets a softball question, has a dementia moment, or talks tough and says, come on, man.
And then you will hear this ding. And now it is time for us to transfer over to the Biden Town Hall. You ready, Doc?
Yeah.
Go! Okay. All right. That's a really... It's amazing that car didn't catch on more. Reg the Bandit, everyone who's working at Louder with Crowder. And by the way, if people are watching, the people who work remotely, every single one of you better be watching the Biden Town Hall stream right now. Reg the Bandit, what do we have? What's going on with Biden?
Well, we had some discussion of Biden's past legislation on crime. And so I think we have a clip of him discussing his crime bill and then a little fact check of that.
Okay, really quick before that, did they ask him about his finances at all, Biden? Did they ask him about the finances and Hunter or anything like that yet?
Is that supposed to be a joke or?
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
The silliest thing about me talking to a man in a pair of briefs that were cut into a raccoon mask is if the media was doing their job. Okay, let's go to the clip right now about Joe Biden's racist criminal legislation history.
What's your view on the crime bill that you wrote in 1994, which showed prejudice against minorities? Where do you stand today on that?
Well, first of all, things have changed drastically. That crime bill went and voted. The Black Caucus voted for it. Every black mayor supported it across the board.
Then they moved into my neighborhood, damn it. Then they all moved into my neighborhood, and I was getting out I was in Chevy Chase out there, and they were leaving Baltimore. They changed things. I want them to do well. I don't want to have to look at them in my cul-de-sac. I couldn't see what that is because I have a really small monitor tonight, Reg the Bandit. Is that true?
Yeah, so from factcheck.org, we have a little context there that he's spinning the facts. Initially, it was sort of embarrassing because only, 10 of the 38 black Democrats actually voted against him when it came to the crime bill. And so it hung it up on a procedural motion. And then Clinton actually had to go meet with those guys and convince them to vote for it. So it wasn't really smooth sailing. It wasn't just that everyone supported it. He had to get Clinton in there to sort of clean things up.
So Joseph Biden was so unlikable that Clinton went in to do his bidding. And it worked. Is there anything else that we've missed? Because I know they're going to come back here soon, or is that the main gist of it?
I think that's the main point. I think we're switching over to the Supreme Court here, so there should be some good stuff.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Keep us abreast. We're about to go back to the Donald Trump. Quick, let's go back and Trump Town Hall.
Trump, thank you again for being here. We've got another voter, Adam Schucker. He voted for Clinton in 2016. He's
Adam Schucker? He hardly knew her.
He's supporting Biden. Oh boy. Adam, take it away.
Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Adam.
4 years ago, Senate leadership said it was inappropriate to push through a nominee in an election year.
Oh, boy.
Yet they fast-tracked your nominee for the Supreme Court just today.
Brian Singer.
The question I have for you is, what do you say to the voter that thinks it's hypocritical to act in that manner and that they can't trust Republicans
You
were.
can watch our recent Change My Mind. It's not hypocritical.
I was elected,
and this guy can go screw himself. I don't trust a guy with that pale of a skin and those kinds of blue eyes.
I thought he was going to say, also, why did God make me like this?
Yeah. Also, why did God make me like this? And I have to trot the globe for the entirety of my life, fleeing Blade.
It happened to come up, unfortunately, because I had great respect for Justice Ginsburg, but a vacancy happened to come up. And we picked somebody that's outstanding. She has been an absolute star.
Happened to come up.
And
the bitch
I'm
died.
extremely proud of it.
The
but
bitch
again,
died.
plenty of time. I mean, there's plenty of time. We're going to do it before the election, but we also have much time after the election, but there's no reason to wait. Because it's almost unanimous, it seems to me, certainly within the Republican Party, and frankly, most of the Democrats within closed rooms. I guarantee you that this is an outstanding person. And
they wouldn't be in closed rooms because of COVID.
And you know,
they would be because they're hypocrites.
If you put the shoe on the other foot, if they had this, they would do it 100%. So there's been 29 times when this has happened. All 29 times, a president has done exactly what I've done.
Look at that black chick nodding.
I
want to find out who that is.
In 2016, you were on
it's going to ding for
another
every
show,
time the wonderful black lady,
beautiful
in the nice white sweater, nods.
And you said, I think the Senate should wait until the next president and let the president pick. Now, that was 8 months before the election. This is 3 weeks before the election.
I have a lot of respect, by the way.
So you have changed your position on this.
I have a lot of respect for Judge Garland. I want to tell you that. But I'll tell you, the whole ball game changed when I saw the way they treated Justice Kavanaugh. I have never seen any
nodding model.
And I'm not just talking about Supreme Court. I have never seen a human being treated so badly with false accusations and everything else. I have never seen anything like it. And you know what? The truth is, Savannah, like it or not, the ball game changed a lot. There has never been anybody treated so badly as now Justice Kavanaugh.
Dangle my balls on the forehead of every last Democrat. The ball game changed.
Any challenges come up in connection with the election? Do you expect her to rule
I got
for you?
speedball.
I think she'll have to make that decision. I don't think she has any conflict at all. You know, a Supreme Court judge does not have, I mean, they can make their own decision. And they actually have additional power to make that decision.
Did you see that mask?
It would be totally up to her.
One chick behind her.
I would think that she would
who
be
also,
able
by the way,
to
is in a
rule
white
either for me
shirt
or
with
against
clear.
me. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. We have an election coming up. I think it's the most important election in the history of our country. If for any chance, and it probably won't, and I hope it doesn't ever get to the Supreme Court.
That's how we got
if it
COVID
did,
last time.
I would think that she would rule one way or the other. I would think so.
But for you think she would rule for you?
I have no idea.
I mean, of course she'll rule one way or the other, but
in the law, we call that objection asked and answered.
I never talked about it. I didn't talk about any of the obvious things that you could talk about.
Trump?
And I think a lot of people
they were trying
might,
to pin her on that, trying to get her on you're beholden to Donald Trump. She didn't take the bait, and now they're trying to pin it on him, and he's not taking the bait.
They say it's better not to talk. So I talked to her about life. I talked to her about the fact, would you like to do this? Are you willing to do this? Because it's a tremendous burden. The answer was yes. She is unbelievably well qualified, but I never spoke to her about these various questions.
let's get our next voter. She's
Great
looking
answer.
to you, Mr. President.
Lovely
she voted
black
for
lady
you in
behind him,
2016.
shook her head
She's a registered Republican. Her name is Mariah Green. Mariah, what's your question?
I want to party with that lady.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm honored to be with you here tonight, sir, so thank you. I'm a pro-life millennial, and my question for you today is, if Roe v. Wade is ultimately overturned in the future, what protections would be put in place or kept for where the mother's life is in jeopardy in relation to high-risk pregnancies?
Well, again, I'm not ruling on this, and Roe v. Wade is something that a lot of people would say, obviously you're going to speak to somebody. I also, two other great justices, Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh, I never spoke to them about Roe v. Wade. I never spoke to them about election laws. I never spoke to them about anything. And I've done the right thing from a moral standpoint. I don't even know from a legal standpoint, but it was the right thing. I think, depending on what happens with Roe v. Wade, I think that perhaps it could get sent down to the states.
That's exactly what happens. If Roe v. Wade were completely overturned, it just punts it back to the states. That's all it does.
Power in the first place anyway.
I think it would be inappropriate to talk to her about it. And some people would say you can talk to her about it. I just think it would be inappropriate.
If Colorado has the authority to allow abortion up until 9 months, as you saw in our hidden camera abortion video, sometimes one day, or Virginia up until after birth, shouldn't Texas be able to cut down. Shouldn't Texas people say, okay, you know what, no abortion here. You want one, go to the state where they, they'll let you have it up until the baby's first word.
For a long time, make a decision, and that's why I chose her. I think that she's going to make a great decision. I did not tell her what decision to make, and I think it would be inappropriate to say right now because I don't want to do anything to influence her. I want her to get approved, and then I want her to go by the law.
By the way,
I know she's going to make
large
a
appendage
great
broad to
decision
his
for
right, our
country.
left, doesn't like this. You can see her twiddling her thumbs, and now the black lady behind him is shaking her head yes. She's like, yeah, I know about the genocide. I know what's up.
Many of them would.
What do you
Perhaps
think?
most of them
Look, she's
would.
shaking her head no.
I am telling
Karen
you,
is shaking her head no,
anything to
but
influence anything
Brandy
right
is shaking
now.
her. That's how she'll be named right now. Brandy is shaking her head yes. It's like no.
No.
White broad is like no, and then the black chick is like yeah, get it.
Is that how she does it?
Yeah. She goes, yeah.
A little laugh when she's like Hispanic, and we're like, oh.
It may never get there. It may never get there. We'll see what happens.
All right, we have another question.
Oh, look, a little head note
This
from
is
the black
Cindy
chick behind her. She was
Velez.
like,
she is undecided. She says she's leaning to
By the
Biden,
way, if
and she
Black
did
Lives
vote
Matter,
for
they
Clinton
should
in
probably
2016.
matter in the womb.
She's
That's where
registered
Shut up, it's Vivian.
as a Democrat. Hi, Cindy. What's your question?
Good evening, Savannah. Good
Cindy,
evening,
thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
As the mother of a young male of color, I have raised him to respect authority, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also out of fear that he may face profiling or be considered a criminal. As an educator, I've also had similar conversations with my high school students. Mr. President, what will you and your administration do to better prepare our law enforcement officers to work in collaboration with the communities that they serve and also to protect the lives
You mean
of
beyond the fact
innocent
that there are
Black
actually
and
more
Latinos?
minorities in the police force than in the general population? You mean that? What do you want to do?
Right.
That's
I
a good
fully
question.
understand the question.
You don't like
And,
that question?
No, I
I
hate
saw
the
everything that you saw over the summer, and it was a terrible thing to watch. We were very strongly, we have a senator named Tim Scott from South Carolina. He came up with a bill that should have been approved. It was great. It was a bill that was strong in terms of law enforcement and strong in terms of enforcing the proper thing and doing the proper thing by law enforcement. And the Democrats just wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't go for it at all. And I don't know why, because it was a really great bill. But I do have to say this.
It's really a Nancy's feet.
And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, historically black colleges and universities. I got them funded. They were on a year-to-year basis. They could have been put out of business. As soon as our country had a little bad year, they would have said, I'm sorry, we're not going to fund you. I got them 10-year funding and financing, and more than they even asked for. I became very friendly with a lot of the heads. But we've done more, and of course, opportunity zones. But criminal justice reform, everybody said it could not be done. President Obama and Biden never even tried to do it. They never even tried. But I say that, and I say it often. I'll say it loud, and I'm very proud of it.
Actually, the white girl shaking her head yes.
A great relationship
Probably because this is one where she wants to seem like an ally.
With the African American community. I'm very proud of it.
Let's go to our next
That's
question.
a big
We
nod
have
from the black lady
Dale.
behind
She
Donald
leans
Trump.
slightly to Biden.
This has
She
got
voted for
to be
Clinton
the
in
story tomorrow.
2016. She's registered
Black
as
lady
a
behind Donald Trump, like
Republican. Paula, what's your
yes.
question?
And you know someone right now at NBC News is going, okay, cut to camera two. Cut to camera two. Camera two. Camera two. Camera two. There's a black. No black. No black. No black. No more blacks. Cut her out.
So
They've moved.
Cut her out.
Yeah, they just moved the camera.
Yeah, they did. They're listening to us right now. Yeah.
As the daughter
Hey, it's Dame Enda.
of immigrants
It's
to the
Dame
United
Enda's
States
neighborhood
who
watch.
fled Eastern Europe due to religious persecution.
Right.
The United
I'd like to
States
ask you about the
immigration
state of our
policies are
economy.
very personal for me.
Right.
Surveys show that most
working on it.
Americans and the majority of Republicans support the Dreamers program. So my question for you, Mr. President, is if you are elected to a second term, do you expect to pursue your previous efforts to cut the DACA program?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
And the DACA is somewhat different than Dreamers. You understand that, and you understand it better than anybody probably in this room. Where do you come from, by the way, originally? Where?
My grandparents were from Russia and Poland.
That's very good. Okay.
Awkward.
So
I respect you.
we are going to take care of DACA.
Someone have a pen.
We're going to take care of Dreamer.
I know usually.
It's working right now. We're negotiating different aspects of immigration and immigration law. We've built now over 400 miles of border wall, southern border. Mexico's working very closely with us. We have the strongest border we've ever had. We want people to come into our country. They have to come in legally. But we are working very hard on the DACA program, and you will be, I think, very happy over the course of the next year.
Thank you.
Because I feel the same way as you do about it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
That was a great answer. That's a pro-business answer right there. Pro-people answer.
Applicants are allowed. And in fact, the DACA recipients now have to renew every year as opposed to every 2 years. So in fact, the DACA program
we have a Canadian who works for us, by the way, who today was down at the Mexico border because he had to get renewed for 3 years. You know, we've had to bring him in, someone who helps manage business here, who was incredibly skilled. He had to jump through hoops, and he had to jump through hoops just to get renewed, and he did it himself. He didn't even ask me for help. He told me, "Can I go down to the border?" I said, "Absolutely." This is something that all legal immigrants have to do. It's not because you're brown.
You haven't heard any complaints about that. But what happened
I think
is
Savannah was told
the
on the break to
pandemic,
stop interrupting.
We have to be
she has
extra
been
cautious.
well more behaved
Promising
now.
this immigration bill since, well, at least July, when you told my colleague on Telemundo
Just
it was coming, but nothing's come yet.
It's very happy. The fact is, we got rid of catch and release, which is a disaster. You know, you catch somebody, they could be a murderer, they could be a rapist, and we're supposed to release them into our country. These are the laws that I inherited. We ended that program.
That is absolutely true. Take a look at sanctuary cities. Here's the deal. When people talk about not deporting, right, children who were born to illegal immigrant parents because they didn't do anything wrong, okay, fine. But would you deport all felons who are here illegally in our prisons?
Let's start.
No. Nancy Pelosi refuses. San Francisco refuses. Sanctuary cities refuse. So let's not act as, it's like with abortion. Let's say, what about rape or incest? Okay, if we allow rape or incest, would you get rid of all the other abortions? Then don't present that argument. It's not about children. It's about votes.
Why they should give you a second chance and how you might improve in a second term. 30 seconds, what would you say to them?
Because
totally
leading
question, assuming you need a second
chance. The strongest economy in the world. We closed it up. We are coming around the corner.
Oh,
thumbs up! Coming out soon.
Thumbs up!
And our economy is strong. We are at a level with jobs like we've never been before. We've rebuilt our military. We've rebuilt our borders. We had no borders. We had no nothing. We've rebuilt so much. We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest regulation cut, equally as important. And we created new levels of jobs that nobody thought was possible. And next year is going to be better than ever before.
I gotta leave it there. I got a wrap from.
Look, you see.
Wow.
Black
Look at
lady,
that.
put up the
Look
black
at that.
fist.
The voters' questions that concludes our
Look at that.
You gotta
Look
finish
at that.
the drink
She's
now.
wearing a fucking shirt.
Look at those sleeves.
Damn. Miami and all of you watching at home.
Captain Jack Fine Sparrow up in this motherfucker.
Scheduled to meet in person a week.
She's got a pirate shirt on. She's cheering for President Donald Trump. All right. I hate to be a step down. I hate to be a buzzkill, but because we wanted you to be able to enjoy both streams, and now there's another half hour to the riddled dementia at Giant Advertisement. You talk about big pharma. This is one big glorified billboard for levodopa. Joseph Biden.
Yeah.
And by the way, really quickly, I just want to let you guys know, of course, this is sponsored today by Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah.
Wonderful coffee. I drink it every day, except for right now because of my stomach. I started drinking coffee and I went gurgle, 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 hell. But blackriflecoffee.com/Crowder. You get 20% off your first order. And veteran-owned, veteran-operated, but their coffee is fresh roasted, made to order.
Fantastic stuff.
Awesome. It's just better coffee, and you're not supporting people who hate your country, like this guy. And oh my gosh, what is she not turtly enough for the Turtles Club? Let's go to the Biden
I've
town hall.
already begun to
Oh wait, hold on a
transition
second.
people
I think she's a minister.
away from fossil fuels. What industries that are not harmful to human health and the environment are you planning for Southwest Pennsylvania and the nation?
Why is she asking a question? Did some kids throw a ball into your lot where the Mastiff wouldn't let him retrieve it?
Banning fracking. I think you have to make sure that fracking
That's like a Morgan. That's like a Tracy Morgan character.
Yeah.
I want to know why you sound like you're out of your fucking mind.
How they're drilling.
What does a ghetto mating call look like?
Very well, number one.
No further questions, you crazy ass.
The future
Look at this Tracy Morgan.
in renewable energy. The single fastest growing energy source in the world right now, because I'm going to say something that's going to sound self-serving, but I managed the Recovery Act, and I was able to invest billions of dollars into bringing down the cost
that's right.
the cost per BTU of wind
I don't think she
solar.
likes Biden.
So now it's
wind and
cheaper
solar?
than coal. It's
Solyndra,
cheaper than
anybody?
oil right now. and it has great, great promise.
So keep in mind, by the way, we just went from the Trump town hall, okay? We just went from the Trump town hall with Savannah Guthrie, am I pronouncing that right? Savannah Guthrie, who's married to a Democratic communications consultant, to a guy who actually worked as the communications director for the Clintons.
Wow.
And they want us to think that they're objective.
It's unbiased. Unbiased.
I do. Let's take that point. Trump went into the lion's den.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
When I heard that it was Savannah Guthrie, I thought to myself, man, cojones on that. I mean, you knew it wasn't going to be straight shooting.
Yep.
I think he did pretty well.
I think he actually did pretty well. But I want to compare it here with Biden. And I know Reg the Bandit will have some fact checks for what we missed. But right now he's talking about the Recovery Act and solar and wind, which of course we know sucks.
Find the right technology, some
He
gas,
looks like he's needle pointing.
gas to be able to, if we can carbon capture. And I think we're going to be able to move in a direction where by the year 2035, we'll be able to have net zero emissions of carbon from the creation of energy creation.
What?
That so we can move it by dealing with
Okay.
those.
But my question was about Pluto and shit.
Global warming or the environment. The president thinks of
because you know how planets are burning balls of gas. I think you misread my inquiry.
You'll be able to see now, as I started to say before.
She looks like Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan and his sister would be this way.
Government contracts.
She's getting mad at his answer.
Things that in fact
I think she's
also
pissed.
are not only made in America, but building
I
an
think
infrastructure
she's crying
that's
about how
clean
bad his
and
answer
new.
is.
And what we have to do is focus on the transmission
I think
of
she's
energy
also getting
across
bored.
the country.
Yeah.
from
She's slowly going to sleep.
Okay. So what you saying is you
The
retarded.
reason is that they have
Did you hear what he's
that
saying?
has not
Solar
been mastered
and
yet. I've
wind?
met a lot of people.
Solar and wind.
Silicon
Compare
Valley.
Germany. We can fact check this. Compare Germany, who went with renewable energy, which included solar and wind, and they shunned nuclear. Compare them with France. France actually reduced their carbon emissions, and France is more effective and pay a lower net energy cost. And by the way, they have fewer deaths per kilowatt hour, which is how it's actually measured, versus Germany, who actually increased their carbon emissions during that same time. But what happened to all the solar and wind? Well, what happens is you don't have a power grid that can actually maintain that can actually hold the power, can reserve the power, and so they would have brownouts, and then they'd have power surpluses, which they would have to sell at net negatives. And when they had brownouts, guess what they have to go back to? Coal, because they don't have the same kind of fracking we have here in the United States. Also, there are still a few Nazis lurking in there.
You want to see what his plan looks like? California.
Hold on, I want to see if he goes in hard on Biden.
Not everyone buys your denial. A member
goes
of
in
the
hard.
Boilermakers Local 154, Sean Stepney, was quoted in the New York Times today saying, "You can't have it both ways." It says you can't meet your goal to end fossil fuels without ending fracking. What do you say to people like Sean who doubt your denial because they think you want to keep that promise?
Tell them
and
the Boilermakers overwhelmingly endorsed me, okay? So the Boilermakers Union has endorsed me because I sat down with them on a great detail with leadership exactly what I would do, number one.
Look how angry
Number
he
two,
is.
what I would do is I would stop giving tax breaks
Why does he keep
and
looking up into the sky?
subsidizing oil.
That's where the
He's
person
waiting for
We don't
Jesus
need
to take it.
subsidize oil any longer. Number one, we should stop that and save billions of dollars over time. What I would also do with regard
let's subsidize
to there's no
wind and
the
solar.
difference
It doesn't
between
work.
me and the New
Subsidizing,
Green
by the way,
Deal,
oil and
they
gas
say
just means tax
automatically by 2030 we're going to be carbon free. Not possible.
So are you for it or against it? You say you're not for it, but in your website it says you call it a crucial framework.
You going to ban it or not?
The Green New Deal.
My deal is a crucial framework, but not the new Green Deal. The new Green Deal calls for elimination of all non-renewable energy by 2030. You can't get there. You're going to need to be able to transition, George, to be able to transition to get to the place
George?
where
Why does he need to
we invest
transition?
in new technologies that allow us to do things that get us to a place where we get to net zero emission, including in agriculture. I've laid out a detailed plan. We should be taking
Answer on
the plan
fracking.
where we allow
By the way, how do you think you get to
more
net
land to
zero
be put in
carbon emissions? By the way,
conservation,
trick
plug
question.
deep-rooted
You
plants
don't.
which absorb
But
carbon from the air and in fact pay
you start
farmers
by
to do
banning
it.
fracking,
We
which he
got
said he would
things
do.
like
Or you kill everybody.
Hey,
all the
he
chicken
lied.
manure,
Drake.
all the horse manure and cow manure, and they can be and take out the methane and use it as fertilizer and make a lot of money doing it. For example, right now down in people, when I say that, they wonder what I'm talking about. The biggest carbon sink in the world is the Amazon. More carbon absorbed from the air,
Back to the question,
diminishing global warming in the Amazon than all the carbon emitted on a yearly
But
basis.
fracking!
That's a good thing in the Amazon. Unfortunately, they also don't have anything to hold their
we
tits.
have to use our imagination.
So it's a give and take.
Trade-off as well, providing for
True.
electric vehicles.
Did he
electric vehicles
did he
will
just say
save
that we should look
billions
to
of
the
gallons
Amazon?
of oil crate estimated.
Where they have piranhas and people who've never seen a bra?
And actually, JoeBiden.com does say Joe Biden believes that the Green New Deal is a crucial framework for meeting the climate changes we face. Challenge.
Joe, I'm
sorry. Did they just turn the music on?
He's still talking. Look, he's still talking. And by the way, he's talking to nobody. He's like, huh?
What? Hold on.
Who's the
They just
patron
played him
saint
off.
of stopping me from talking out of my ass because I forgot my rosary, which I only use as out of political opportunism? Really quickly, before we go on to this, Reg the Bandit, what did we miss from the Biden town hall before we switched over?
So there are a couple things of note on the Supreme Court question. Biden actually said, and this almost, we don't even have to run a clip. It's so false. He said that he thought it was, by implication, it was unconstitutional to nominate a new justice before the election. He said his reading of the Constitution says that by implication you have to wait. And so, you know, he talked about how he's taught constitutional law and things like that.
Well, his version of the Constitution says if you fart in your hand, you can throw it across the room.
Ooh.
Next bit.
He also mentioned that.
By the way, did he happen to mention something known as the Biden rule? Because, you know, it's named after him, and it says that you can do this if you control the Senate and the White House. I'm sorry. It's his rule, not ours.
Well, he doesn't know that.
No, not anymore.
All right, what else do we have of note there, Reg the Bandit?
He did mention that he would, not tonight, but at some point, give an answer on court packing. And
November 4th.
I think we also have a clip of his. He has some ideas on how to reform policing. So I think we do have a clip of that.
All right, let's go to the clip of how Biden would do policing. You're watching the Crowder Town Hall. The promo code is Crowder Town Hall at loudwithcrowder.com/mug club. And you can use the hashtag. We'll be announcing a costume contest winner. Let's go to his answer on policing.
We can do this. You can ban chokeholds. You can, but beyond that, you have to teach people how to de-escalate circumstances. De-escalate. So instead of anybody coming at you, the first thing you do is shoot to kill. You shoot them in the leg.
He's still walking at us with an eye.
Oh my God!
Come on. Can I go, please? No.
Miss.
Click it up.
Got him.
Shots fired. Central shots fired. Click it up. Hands on your back.
Reload.
No.
And
Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Yeah.
No. Get on the ground.
That's what happens when you
At
shoot
first,
to
I
the
thought
left.
this was a screen capture of GoldenEye.
No.
He's trying to tase him now, by the way. Bad idea.
Wow.
Wow.
In most cases, this cop's throat gets cut.
Should have shot him in the leg. I'm willing to bet that guy's on PCP or something.
Yep.
Yeah, by the way, people wonder why the Democrats, they're always advised by consultants, by people who actually are campaign managers to avoid the gun issue, because any person who's ever taken a concealed carry course, or you, obviously, you're a competitive shooter, anyone who's ever taken a basic gun safety course, let alone a concealed carry course, is they tell you, listen, if you're going to have to aim your gun, you have to, first off, don't take it out unless you're okay with the potential of destroying that target, and aim for chest, center mass, because you miss most of the time. The first thing they tell you is it's a myth, this idea in the movies that you can aim for the legs or shoot a gun out of your hand. It's a total myth, but Biden repeats it because he's never learned anything about guns. He's out of touch with a huge portion of the American populace.
Nobody challenged him. Yeah. Nobody said, hey, isn't it pretty hard to shoot somebody in the leg when your life is on the line?
It's not only that. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One, smaller target. Two, even if you do that, the kind of crippling injury that happens is you're essentially saying, oh, I'd like to just maim them instead.
Right.
Third, when you're shooting at concrete, bullets do actually skip. There's the opportunity of shooting at a certain angle that is almost guaranteed to go past and then go into a different target. You're not just shooting this person to protect yourself, but you're shooting in a controlled way. Look at the Breonna Taylor situation. The officers who are just randomly shooting, and you're shooting at a small target, or you're just shooting indiscriminately, you put other people at danger. So there's a lot of different reasons.
Keep in mind, this is the guy who also said just take a double-barrel shotgun and fire it into the air.
Not knowing that bullets
like you're hunting rabbits.
Come back back down.
What were you about to say there, Audio Wade?
I was just going to say, we do have a relevant chat from Ben. He says, question for Reg the Bandit. How many Republicans have asked Biden questions so far? He's watching the Biden town hall.
Because I think only one has asked
Trump anything.
Right.
Hey, Reg the Bandit, do you think you could check that for us and get back to us? Because we have to go to Biden, I would say speaking out his ass, but speaking out his ass if he were a conehead. Because they don't have asses. Let's go back. Get back to us on that, Reg, with a count if you can.
Trivia.
Welcome to Pennsylvania, Mr. Vice President.
Is this the old Who Wants to Be a Millionaire set with the speed round?
Right?
No. Oh, my God.
So, peace is breaking out all over the world. Our troops are coming home. Serbia is talking to Kosovo. And the Arabs and Israelis are talking peace.
Good.
Which I believe is a modern-day miracle, what's going on. Does President Trump's foreign policy deserve some credit?
A little, but not a whole lot. We find ourselves in a position where we're more isolated in the world than we've ever been. Our allies are
paying more into NATO than they ever have, and Israel has had the biggest peace treaty that's been signed in modern history.
You have Iran closer to having enough nuclear material to build a bomb. North Korea has more bombs.
I'm sorry, did you say Iran, sir?
We find
you had
ourselves
your shot.
sorry,
you had your shot.
saying they can't count on us. We're in a situation as well where in the Far East we find ourselves in the
priest from Simon
Western
Birch is not
Pacific,
happy with us.
where we're isolated as well. You have Japan and South Korea at odds with one another. China is making moves. So
did you say at odds with others?
We find ourselves
drink dementia moment because he's not making sense.
Than we've been. I do compliment the president on the deal with Israel recently.
Deals. You had 8 years and did nothing. You only pissed off the Jews.
Very well trusted around the world.
Did you say 48 years?
17 major nations.
48 years to do something?
They trust more. Who's the better leader? And the president came
bring me whiskey.
behind both the international survey, both behind Putin as well as.
Interesting
Xi.
you bring up Putin.
And look what Putin's doing.
Hey, has he had to answer for anything with his
bounties
son?
on American military's heads in Afghanistan. They have more people there
who else
now,
didn't
by the
poll
way,
well
than when I left,
internationally?
when we left
Ronald
in
Reagan.
Afghanistan.
Also Winston
And we find
Churchill. Those
ourselves
guys
in
were
a
not liked
situation
by other
where,
countries. But guess what? It's not a popularity
They were
contest.
respected.
And NATO is on the risk of
money talks.
Crack
NATO
because they doubt our concern whether we're there. You see what's happening in everything
money
from
talks.
Belarus to
NATO.
Poland to Hungary,
Fewer wars.
and the rise of totalitarian regimes in the world, and as well as this president embraces all the thugs in the world.
Oh, really?
I mean, he's best friends with the leader
But
of
you
North Korea.
embrace the thugs in America.
As well as he lined up all the thugs in the world. Like Hamas, you silly old bitch.
He's learned.
How about
the art of the
Hamas?
steal
I don't
from
know. What's
the
a
art
few
of the
rockets
deal
from a
by
children's
Xi in
school?
China. So I would respectfully suggest, no, there is no plan.
Well, the plan has resulted in no major new wars. He's the only modern American president to ever do that. You guys had more unmanned drone strikes than anyone in history. So, listen, you guys sucked on this front. Just call it a loss. Take the L. If you were to actually poll people on individual issues, what do you think about the Israeli peace treaty with UAE? Right away, people would. If you poll people on individual issues, Donald Trump would come out on top in those individual issues, particularly on issues of national security and foreign policy. It wouldn't even be close. The problem is they don't do that because the people running interference are the former Democrat White House communications director, George Stephanopoulos, and then one who's married to somebody who's the poor man Stephanopoulos, Savannah Guthrie. These are the people in charge of the town halls tonight. Let's see if he... Look, do you notice right away he goes to another question? No fact check of Joe Biden. No fact check at all compared to Savannah, who's like, yeah, but she had the COVID, though. Yeah, but she didn't wear a mask.
I'm a mom of 2 girls, 8 and 10. My youngest daughter is transgender. The Trump administration has attacked the rights of transgender people, banning them from military service.
How can you decide your gender and sex? How can you decide your sex on your driver's license before you even have the ability to climax sexually? 8 years old? 8 years old, you can decide to cause reproductive harm? We don't allow them to make sexual decisions on anything else, but you're going to make a decision that permanently alters your sex life. Sorry, let's go ahead. Let's listen to this.
Protected under U.S. law.
I will flat out just change the law. Eliminate those executive orders, number one. you may recall, I'm the guy who said, I was raised by a man who I remember.
By the way, that was
being
straight
dropped
talking. Yeah,
off.
that's right. Drink.
My
Flat
dad
out
was
change
a
the law.
high school educated.
I'm not beholden to
well-read man
constitutional
who,
parameters.
Was a really decent guy, and I was being dropped off to get an application in the center of our city, Wilmington, Delaware, the corporate capital of the world at the time. And these two men, I'm getting out to get an application to be a lifeguard in the African American community because there was a big swimming pool complex, and
there was a transgender in the African American swimming pool.
And kissed one another.
Wow!
I'm getting out of the car. My dad looked at me and said, "Joey, it's simple. They love each other." The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think.
Well, you just decided sexual orientation. I won't say preference because apparently that's offensive now to Hirono, which, by the way, Merriam-Webster, I believe, actually changed their dictionary to categorize sexual preference as offensive, as a derogatory term. You just mentioned two gay black men and then transitioned to trans. Do you have any idea what they would do if Donald Trump equated the two?
Well, do you think they'll hang him on decide he wants to be transgender?
Yeah, right.
Because you were born with it.
It's immutable. It's immutable according to YouTube. That's why I wasn't allowed to laugh at the transgender individual who committed physical assault with a fidget spinner. Remember?
Yeah.
Literally, I could not laugh because it was immutable. That was YouTube's terminology and the terminology of Hirono, and he just said choose to be transgender. You don't choose something that's immutable.
He was the guy who got.
By the way, I agree with you.
In the state of and, because of a
also like that.
Man who
we got removed for agreeing with Joe Biden.
for him in the Attorney General's office.
Working on it.
Coming up. Thank you.
I'm
We'll be
proud
right
of
back.
Can I ask a question for chat?
Wow, look, nothing. No
just
fact
moves
check,
right
straight to
on.
commercials. Like, let me give you a wide open lane here, and we'll go to a commercial. Yeah, your question for chat there, Hefe.
All right, so I'm really interested in this. I've talked with a lot of folks recently, and they are concerned about their family, and I don't just mean their kids or their spouse, but they're concerned about their parents. They're concerned about their extended family, and what I want to see in the chat is, of all the different crazy, dangerous, immoral positions that Biden has actually talked about, because we know a few of them he just won't even answer, right? But of the ones he's talked about, what makes you most concerned for your family and why? You know, what is the issue that is most concerning to you, and what are you most concerned about when Biden, if he were to get in office?
Trick question: if you have an 8-year-old who you allow to chop off their cock.
Ooh. Yeah, you can't choose that one because that's too obvious. Okay,
Yeah, you can't choose that one. Obvious.
I think it was girl to guy.
Well, I don't care. I don't care. You don't allow 8-year-olds to undergo hormone blockers, just like you don't allow 8-year-olds to wipe their boogers under the couch. I know because my dad spanked me and I deserved it.
At 8?
I thought no one would notice that was my booger nook. All right, Reg the Bandit. Yeah. That's a true story.
Oh that's disgusting.
Can we at least
hand to God, hand to the place that Joe Biden keeps looking up to? Yeah. I had a booger nook. I remember what it looked like. It was very different.
Can we call it
Reg the Bandit. What else? You said there were some other things that had been going on here that we missed. Oh no! Wait! That's right. Have there been any? The Republican number was the number we were looking for.
Yeah.
How many? Yeah. The questions. I don't know if you're able to find that.
Yeah, so I've been trying to keep track. I think he had one question from a Republican who voted for John Kasich.
Does that count?
Which I don't know if that counts.
I don't think
it was
so.
John Kasich.
It was, yeah.
And next question is former governor from. Listen, Joe.
John Kasich.
I want to know, as I wasn't going to take the lowest road to the highest office in the land, why does everyone hate me?
You're going to take any road to the highest office in the land.
And then Joe Biden said, "'Cause you're an asshole, man." All right, give me more answers.
Well,
here,
there was one other guy, too.
I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from Reg the Bandit. He's the smart one.
Oh, well, I was going to say there was one voter who said she voted for Trump, and then she was now undecided. Okay. So, yeah, maybe a soft 2 questions from Republicans.
Oh, as opposed to the hard every single question from Savannah Guthrie.
Yeah, Reg, that's what I was going to say. I was like, how many times did George jump in there, interrupt, yell, name call, question, ask leading questions?
That's true. Did he ever? Because we missed it. We were watching Donald Trump. During that time, was George Stephanopoulos, was he grilling Joe Biden and asking for follow-ups at all?
No, he was quite the sweetie pie. He was very positive and, very happy.
Okay. Well, also, did they place bosomy women in white sweaters behind Joe Biden? Because I don't know if you were able to see, but that's what they were doing with the Trump town hall.
Yeah, no, he had kind of an open stage there, right? They made a big show of, it wasn't 6 feet, it was like 60 feet in between him and Stephanopoulos.
Overdo
so,
it,
yeah.
Well,
So moral.
opposed to Donald Trump, they had open blouses.
Yeah. Well, Biden goes for like the 10 to 12-year-old girls. They were in the green room for him to smell before coming out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He's fine.
They're like, Mr. Biden, would you like a diffuser with essential oils that'll actually peppermint is awakening? Do you have 7? Oh, is that I'm not familiar? Is that a
7
blend?
essential
7-year-old. It's just 7-year-old Susie. Can you put that in the what's the name of that the Mormon essential oil company?
Oh, I don't know.
Young Living?
Yeah, can you put that? I was a big fan of Young Living until I found out what it was all about.
That's false advertising.
They sell oils. Who knew?
They're the
Right?
company for me.
I showed up to a Young Living party. It was incredibly disappointing, man.
He was fine when they were BPA
I
free.
called Epstein and said, "Don't go. It's a scam." But not just plain and all that, man. Young Living's a scam.
He just said when they went kid free. That's why it's so sad.
All right, let's see.
Good evening. You say that you committed to entering this race after the events of Charlottesville in 2017. I assume that feeling that prompted you to run will not go away once the results are determined. So,
Here comes the
hypothetically,
fine people.
Right.
if you lose, how will you use your platform to urge President Donald Trump and those rallying behind him towards the ideals of a more perfect union?
Well, I got plans for a spinning restaurant.
Honest with you,
I don't know what you
I think
say.
that's very hard. He is not. Things have not lent themselves to him learning from what's happened, what's gone before.
What the
Instead
fuck?
of
What?
being
What did
chastened
you just
by,
say, dude?
You just witnessed
being
it
one of the few
live.
presidents, the only president
If
to be
there isn't
impeached and then
something
have
from
a
George
member of his own party
Stephanopoulos
vote
right
to
now,
expel
follow
him,
up. Vice President Biden.
So, but what I
Care to
would
make
do,
sense?
I
Then you
would
know this
go
is a
back
sham.
to being a professor,
Drink dementia moment.
at the University of Pennsylvania.
Sorry, pardon my language.
And making the case
Even the
that
black
I've been
guy's
made
like,
and at
what?
the Biden Institute at the University of Delaware,
sorry, what?
focusing on the same issues relating to what constitutes decency and honor in this country.
Yeah,
it's
like your
the thing
son
that got me
smoking
involved
crack
in
and introducing you
public life
to
to begin with.
Ukrainian
As a kid.
diplomats,
Moved from
and
Scranton,
leaders
no
substantiated.
African-Americans, and
Well, we just had
moved down
Giuliani
to
on the
Plymouth,
show.
Delaware,
I'm amazed. I can't believe he showed us the laptop.
That was
great.
Yeah. This is a laptop, and it's just riddled with crack cocaine, and surprisingly enough, Stephen, cooked.
And I got deeply involved. I'm no great shape.
That's what he said, you heard him.
This question asker guy is like,
He's nodding like, yeah, that's about what I figured. You crazy as hell.
there's a I
love you, man.
You were talking.
There's an I understand you nod, and there's a all right, Grandpa.
Okay, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Whether I'm a defeated candidate for president back teaching or I'm elected president, it is a major
You're going to the old folks' home.
element of everything that I'm about.
You're going to where
because it
Governor
reflects
Whitmer can
who
have
we
you
are
whacked.
as a nation. And it's what makes us, this is every single solitary generation. The dial
You'll be in
is moving
solitary
closer and closer and more to inclusion. And we are
I like
a
that one off.
country that is a country of slaves who came here 400 years
Oh
ago.
my God! Talk
indigenous
about better
people,
than
and
you're black.
classes and
You're hey.
and
You're
we're a
black,
diverse
man.
Country.
Slavery.
Unless we are able to treat
Ain't that
people
some
equally,
shit?
we're just never going to
You're
meet
gonna
our
vote for me now?
potential.
They want to put you
But I
back
think
in
the
chains.
American
Do you
people
like
want to see that happen.
CeeLo
I think they're
Green?
ready to see it happen.
I used to think racial jungle. Not anymore.
Yeah, by the way, he didn't want his kids to be raised in a racial jungle,
Yep.
Joe
Yeah,
Biden said, according
yeah.
to PolitiFact.
You remember when Trump was doing that series of tweets where he just said a couple of words and then just said vote? I imagined at that time that Biden was like, guys, let me do this one. And they're like, no, sir, you can't just say slavery. Vote.
By the way,
Can I say slavery and then the next tweet be bad?
I'm a little confused. We're a country of slaves that were brought here 400 years ago.
I hope
That are there still people alive that were slaves? Is that what you're insinuating? By
Hold
that?
on, my
There were
question
people
is
made
who
about that?
sold them?
doesn't say
Well, that's a good
we
point as well.
are
But I don't
as
think his answer made any sense. He was just like
racially, ethnically,
slavery. That was not
Also, the
good.
top of his forehead looks like it's made of damn pipe cleaner.
president wants us to be. Usually, the president,
I think
in
the
my
Adderall's
view, with all
wearing
due
off.
respect, has been divide and conquer. the way he does better if he splits us.
You just answered about slavery to a completely non-slavery related question because the guy had a slightly darker shade of skin. And you're going to complain about divide and conquer? You crazy old demented circus monkey?
Understand what's at stake. And it's not about.
He's going to see next question is going to be some guy come up with a Roman nose. He'll be like, the Jews aren't half bad.
You notice how Biden is doing the same thing that Hillary did, which is he got up there and he's saying he's dividing the country. Well, he just happened to divide the country into a way that allowed him to win an election.
Right.
So here you're saying, oh, he's divided, but you're ignoring black folks for Trump, Hispanic folks for Trump, women for Trump, because you're saying, oh, you shouldn't.
We'll be right. Look, there's not a single fact check here.
You just let him just run on.
Okay,
and on.
We'll be taking your chats, by the way, after this show at loudwithcrowder.com/mugclub on the Blaze TV. It is Crowder Town Hall. Please do consider supporting us because this is the only way that we get to stay in business, as you well know, especially with what's going on right now with Hunter Biden and social media deciding they're going to throttle truth. So, loudwithcrowder.com/mugclub. It's the only way that we get to keep this going, and we'll be taking your chats exclusively after the remainder of this town hall. Yeah. Did we miss anything there, Reg the Bandit?
No, I don't think so. I was going to mention, however, from earlier with the Supreme Court questions, Biden claimed that Judge Amy Coney Barrett didn't lay out her judicial philosophy during the Senate hearings this week.
She clearly did.
And of course, she said she was originalist,
she was originalist,
textualist, and everything. So that, that was another issue that he slightly fudged.
Well, he was confused. Like, they asked her about, sounds like Harry Kane.
Yes.
They asked Amy Coney Barrett about her judicial philosophy, and she started talking about text fonts, man.
She mentioned
Helvetica, Arial. I don't care how you type. I want to know how you vote.
By the way, I have a follow-up question to something he just said. How did Donald Trump divide the country? From the party that is known for identity politics, for finding a wedge and pushing people apart. What Donald Trump did is said, you're entitled to more of your money, you're entitled to better health care, you're entitled to have troops come home, and you're entitled to have more freedom. That's divisive.
You know who divided the country? CNN, when they rejected Ice Cube because he had the gall to meet with Donald Trump, because he wanted to offer this contract for Black America, and Donald Trump was the only one who said yes. And so now Ice Cube, who said he would arrest that. This is Ice Cube. He said, I will arrest that. I would arrest that motherfucker. Which is kind of ironic, right? Because the guy who says fuck the police said this about Donald Trump. And then he offered the black contract for America to both Biden and Donald Trump. And the Biden people said, we'll get back to you after election. And Donald Trump said, hey, come on over. What do you like? Code 45? We got it. and CNN banned Ice Cube from appearing there.
They didn't ban him because of Are We There Yet 2.
They should have
that. was different.
Though that is
they said we can't let you come on this network anymore because of RV2. Motherfucker, that was Robin Williams. We're sorry, we don't see color.
Yeah, close enough.
I mean, they let the DNC conference go on. I mean, that was a worse production. I mean, that was terrible. The convention. I mean, have we forgotten that? That was not that long ago.
No.
And this is the best. Like, these are the answers you're hearing from Biden. He's had all this time.
Very low energy too.
Yeah, but I will say, I have to reiterate one criticism: is the very first debate could have been just like this if Trump would have just let Biden blather. And look, I understand why he was passionate in that first debate, the president, and I understood why he was getting in there and wanting to say his piece. But look at how terrible Biden is when he's by himself, when he has to just try and say one sentence that makes any sense.
Which, by the way, I'm actually interested the number of questions to Donald Trump versus Biden. And if we were to average them out per 10 minutes, because it seems like there are, I don't know, Reg, maybe we can figure this out. Seems to me like there are a lot more, there are quite a few more commercial breaks in the Biden town hall and questions.
Well, we talked about how badly Trump came off at the last debate, but Savannah Guthrie comes off just as bad.
I actually thought Donald Trump came off pretty well
here tonight.
I think they tried to rattle him early on with all the personal COVID questions, because that's what you do if you want to rattle somebody, you get personal, right? And then he really actually, and this is one thing I will say about Donald Trump, when you take the lie from the media about there were fine people on both sides, you said, I'm not talking about whites. Okay, remind me to go back to this, okay? Go back to this point about fine people on both sides, because I had a point to make compared to Savannah Guthrie versus the people who asked questions.
As well. During that town hall meeting, he was asked several times whether he took a COVID test the day of your last
debate.
Wow.
a week from tonight. Just two quick questions. Do you expect that debate to happen? Will you demand that President Trump
get a text
take
from her
test
husband,
that day,
George?
That it be negative before you debate?
Yeah, by the way, before I came up here, I took another test. I've been taking every day, the deep test, the one they go most.
Oh, winning.
And because I wanted to be able, if I had not passed that test, I didn't want to
I
come
told them to
here
get in there, and they said,
and
we don't need you to
expose
take off your
anybody.
pants. I said, I can take it.
I just think it's
Sir, this isn't an anal probe.
it's just decency to be able to determine whether or not you are you're clear. And it's not. I'm less concerned about
Very
me
low
than
energy.
the people, the guys at the cameras, the people working in the
who are of no risk
Secret
whatsoever
Service
to you.
guys you drive up with, all those people. And so, yes, I believe he'll do that. Look, I'm
So I want to know.
Wait, I believe he will do what? What is he talking about?
Take a test.
What I want to know is, did
I was
all
prepared
these
to
crybabying
debate
about
him
when
remotely,
Trump had
which was supposed to
Corona
happen.
and Secret
And he
Service
said
being
he would do
around?
that.
So when Biden
a
potentially may
virtual
have been
debate.
infected, did he
Our
decide
town
to say
hall.
no security?
Hey,
No,
by the way,
all of you stay
what
away.
happened to trusting the science and the medical professionals? Because the doctor said that
Right.
Donald Trump tested negative several times.
Yeah.
Well, those doctors, they're
And that he was
liars.
clear to debate tonight.
You see, those
It was
doctors don't
absolutely
count.
clear.
I think they're going to not let
Ready to
happen
go.
what happened last time. They're going
By the way, can I just make a quick point? Every single video that I have seen him talking to the press in, he is wearing a mask, and that's fantastic. One, he's wearing it wrong, and two, he is actually more of a danger to everyone when he does this. Every time he touches it, he's touching it and then touching a doorknob or shaking a hand or putting
taking
his
it
hand on a
off and then
car.
coughing into his hand.
It would be better if he didn't have a mask.
Wait.
He is a super spreader by doing that.
Yeah.
That's what people
Wait,
don't
hold on a second.
talk
Is
about.
this the end of it?
Of course, voting already underway. More than 18 million
He's still
Americans have
talking.
voted. Tonight, as you heard from the
Biden's
Vice
about to
President,
Hold on a second,
everyone shut
there
up.
was supposed to be a presidential debate. President Trump pulled out of that debate when the commission wanted a virtual debate after the COVID outbreak at the White House. Joe Biden had agreed to do that instead, then doing the town hall here with ABC. And the president, in a late move this week, agreeing to the town hall on another network.
Oh, okay, so it is over.
screen
Okay,
in
sorry.
America
Finish your
tonight.
point, and
That
then
was
I want to go back to
no,
mine.
that was anticlimactic. I can't believe
Yeah,
that.
what do you mean? It was perfectly climactic for Joe Biden.
No, they broke in and basically they were saying, this is really boring. We're going to have to break in and tell you something.
Look at him. He looks so confused. He looks like a parakeet when you take the sheet off the cage.
All right, so Bill, you made this point just a minute ago. It wasn't just that he got softball questions from the audience. I think the first person that asked a question that we went to was on foreign policy. That guy was obviously somebody who leaned pro-Republican. There was no hard questioning from Stephanopoulos. There was no follow-up from anybody in the audience asking a follow-up question at all, or a follow-up from Stephanopoulos on anything they said. Joe Biden didn't say uncontroversial things either. It's not
Hey,
like
by
he
the
just
way,
said
those people
sky's
are not
blue.
social distancing. Notice that right
Not at
now?
all. And
They're
they're
wearing
fine.
masks, but they're not social distancing.
So remember back the one moment when George.
Wait, hold on a second. Are they broadcasting this? Is this still going on?
I think they've moved
He
on.
was
and
pressed on what
Oh,
he
no,
doesn't
he's
want to
just
be done.
talking.
Looks like he's still talking.
He was pressed on
They're doing voiceover.
He's a man of the people, guys.
He's just reciting to them.
8-year-old transgender
He's just reciting
ladies.
his LinkedIn.
I think it's So look. First of all, every time we went to a break, they were cutting him off. But the one moment when they were asking about fracking,
Yeah.
and George was like, "No, but fracking. No. But you should answer. Please answer."
Right.
Okay, we'll just move.
Right.
on.
Like he was in a nightmare where he was trying to yell.
Yeah, I
but
want to be
nothing would
honest.
come out
He
when he
did.
could have just said, "Hey, you're crazy," and not answering.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
tried, but then he stopped trying, and then he was just like, "No, all right." We'll
That
just
was the
move
biggest
on.
moment, though, right?
Right.
That was the one moment where it looked somewhat like he was doing his job, but not really pressing hard enough.
Okay, well, I wanted to make this final point, and then, I wanted to make 2 points here, actually, okay? First one. That lady who asked him a question about Dreamers, about DACA, I believe that was to Joe Biden, the Dave Madden lady. You know, this is one thing I was just thinking about the other day because I just watched Vampires in the Bronx on Netflix. Did you see it yet, quarterback?
It was to Trump. By the
Yeah,
way.
was it to Donald Trump?
Donald Trump.
It was.
Was it the Dave Madden lady, or am I thinking she asked a different question? Oh, no, wait, that's right. It was Dave Madden to him, and then he was talking about the difference
Right.
between Dreamer. Sorry, I was thinking about Dreamers and DACA. She conflated the two because Dave Madden does.
Anyways,
So
Vampires
in the Bronx, or Vampire in the Bronx, whatever it was called.
Brooklyn.
No, it was Vampire in the Bronx. That's how unoriginal it is.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Which, by the way, you want to talk about a negative stereo, like black.
Oh, that was good.
It's not that I don't think that they can just take white films and put in black people. It's that I think that black Americans deserve better than, hey, Fright Night with black people. That's what Vampires in the Bronx is. But it's basically about vampires, but it's effectively one big analogy, right, for gentrification. And they complain about gentrification. And they talk about this, and this lady was I don't remember exactly what triggered it for me, but she was, and I mean that in the actual way, not in trigger warning, asking about DACA and Dreamers. This is something that's come up quite a bit in these debates and these conversations about gentrification. No one talks about this at all, but I was watching Vampire in the Bronx, and then I was listening to AOC recently. Hold on a second. When people complain about gentrification, what they're primarily complaining about is white people obviously moving into an area. This is what they say in Vampires in the Bronx. They say when white people move in, and then we get priced out. Are you sure that was always an entirely black neighborhood? And that's what triggered it. She said she was a Russian immigrant because guess what? Hamtramck, before you heard the Muslim call to prayer as you do now in Michigan, look it up. It's one place in the United States where you can hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day, was a Polish neighborhood. Many areas of Brooklyn or the Bronx were Polish, were Italian, were Irish. And then they moved away, and black people moved into that neighborhood and gentrified it when the Polish and the Irish moved out. So this idea that gentrification only occurs when white people move in now. Well, hold on a second. Did you gentrify it when that area, let's say Hamtramck, all of a sudden the Poles are no longer there, the Polacks? And by the way, we can say that. It's not even considered a slur, despite the fact that it's very offensive. This is something we never... Now, here's one thing. I think the main difference as to why is when you look at a lot of these groups of people, and again, these are people who were all very oppressed, right? People who came across on ships, people who were absolutely... There was prejudice against the Irish, against Jews, of course. The Lower East Side, Alphabet City, was by and large Jews. You want to say they weren't discriminated against? Even in World War II, a lot of Americans didn't like Jews despite the fact that we fought against Hitler. A lot of people don't know that. Read some documents from Henry Ford, his private letters, for crying out loud. Well, what happened is then the Jews often would work their way up and then they moved to the Upper West Side. Now that's considered a very Jewish area. This is the first time, because gentrification is actually a problem right now of people who want to stay in neighborhoods regardless of pricing, regardless of economic output, regardless of what they're contributing to that neighborhood, and they want people who would like to move into that neighborhood and to help it be punished, not be allowed to. This is the first step. Gentrification now is a byproduct of people who want legislation to preserve a neighborhood rather than let the American racial melting pot occur organically. And it's amazing to me when people say gentrification. I was watching Vampire in the Bronx. Are you sure that you don't live in some dirty old Pollock's house? Are you sure that that area was always entirely black and we need to blame white people for coming in and wanting to set up a nut butter shop? And the other point that I wanted to get to, and then we'll go to the costume contest winner.
Yep. And we also got to re-ask our chat question.
Yes, our chat. What is our chat question?
We're going to be asking. We want people to talk about what is the issue that Biden is taking in this election that makes you most concerned for your family. I want to ask a corollary question.
Right.
What's the issue that Trump is talking about that makes you most excited about his presidency?
Right. Okay, that's a good question. We'll be taking that loudofclare.com/mugclub. The other point that I was making, what was the other thing I said to remind me of?
About the fine people on both sides.
Fine people on both sides. Okay. So that's one that's really important because, first off, two things. It highlights the media hypocrisy. It highlights how, not even hypocrisy, just how blatantly dishonest the media is, right? Donald Trump, after Charlottesville, said, I'm not talking about neo-Nazis or white supremacists who should be condemned totally, okay? But there were fine people on both sides. To me, that, when taken in context, is actually a beautiful thing and is such a contrast to Joe Biden tonight. Let me explain what I mean. When the lady asked about DACA, when you had people ask Donald Trump questions that were meant to be somewhat gotcha questions, he never actually answered to people with any kind of revulsion at all. The only problem he had was with Savannah Guthrie, whereas when you watched Joe Biden answer these questions, where he had a couple of tough questions, he had a question about the foreign policy of Donald Trump, right? He was pissed at that person in the audience. Let's also, by the way, compare that to, let's see if it's consistent with Joe Biden saying, those people shouldn't vote for me. When someone asks him saying, hey, 56% of Americans think they're better off now than they were under 8 years of Obama, what would you say to those Americans? They shouldn't vote for me. Oh, those people are too stupid to vote. This is what he says all the time. Joe Biden, and let's go back to Hillary Clinton, it is the philosophy of the DNC. They revile half of the American public. Baskets of deplorables. Yep. Well, they're stupid. They shouldn't vote for me. Yeah. The way he treated people asking him questions today, the only person Donald Trump had a fight with tonight, the only person he had a problem with was the upper lipless Savannah Guthrie because she wasn't doing her job. And when you go back to what they've tried to turn into his Achilles heel, I think it's Donald Trump's strong suit. He condemned neo-Nazis, he condemned white supremacists, and then he said, but there were fine people on both sides. Meaning, in context, there were fine people on the side of the Charlottesville Charlottesville protests who wanted to tear statues down. Even though Donald Trump disagreed with them, he was giving them the benefit of the doubt, saying there were fine people with differing points of view on both sides, and this is something that should be permissible. He doesn't hate half of America. He hates the elites who wield their power inappropriately. And of course he would hate Joe Biden, who says he's going to introduce a mask mandate, and he's not beholden to the Constitution. Joe Biden, the DNC, they answer time and time again. Basket of deplorables. 56% of Americans are stupid. They have bad memories. They shouldn't vote for me. Well, Donald Trump actually doesn't deserve credit. Let me educate you on the foreign policy question tonight. Whereas Donald Trump said, you know what? And actually there's a difference between Dreamers and DACA, which I'm sure you know better than most people. He praised, he uplifted the American people. He only swats down people in positions of authority. That's a huge fucking difference, America, between two people. That's why people talked about draining the swamp. You may think that Donald Trump's a billionaire. Got it. You may think that he bumps elbows with other wealthy people. Absolutely. But you cannot find Donald Trump hating, fighting, and denigrating half of America, even the half who don't vote for him. The last two Democratic candidates did, by name. Basket of deplorables, they shouldn't vote for me. Guess what? Take Biden at his word, and then listen to Donald Trump. Let's go to live chat at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. You can watch us live with the Blaze. We're going to take your chat and announce the costume contest winner. We appreciate you very much being here tonight. I want to hear what you think of these two town halls below. Who did better? Did it affect the election? YouTube, I'd say we love you, but we know you're in cahoots with Facebook and Twitter, and you can go fornicate yourselves with a wire brush.